Tell the truth.
You are listening to Information Man. Please make sure to subscribe to his channel.
Tell the truth. Tell the truth. Tell the truth. Tell the truth.
Welcome to the Information Man Show. Peace, everybody. What's up? Peace. Peace. Welcome to another program. Now, last night, y'all all heard me. Everybody was here last night to hear my rant. I got into some political conversation and talk last night, and I appreciate everybody that came over and supported that particular rant that I went off into. Today will be a more professional stream. I've got my man Ray Alexander on with me. A brother is fantastic. I want to say peace and respect to everybody in the chat room. We've got Identity Withheld. Now, I'm putting a link in the chat room specifically for two men in the chat room who have experience in this occupation that we will be talking about today. Semiconductor microchipping technology. We've got my man Earl Owens, who's been rocking with me for a long time. He's a mod in the chat room. We've got my man Identity Withheld, who's had experience in this particular occupation as well. Professional field, technology. I want to say peace to Real Aaron Collins. Sister Murray is in the house as a mod. My man Keith, what's up, Johnson, from the Wolf Pack over in, my man, the Black, Tim Black, fantastic brother over there. Give him a clap. He'll be coming over here soon. We've got my man Thornton in there. Daniel Thornton, if I'm saying that brother's name correctly. Thanks to you. Black Voltron is in the house saying good afternoon, information man. A big B1 salute to everybody. We got the House of X Entertainment in there. And by the way, the House of X Entertainment has a great channel. Check it out. I won a prize on his channel, on their channel, and I'm going to be going to pick it up from the post office sometime tomorrow. I wanted to pick it up yesterday, my man. Things got a little busy for me, but I'm going to be picking it up tomorrow from the post office. So I appreciate you sending me the prize. We've got my man Freeman Media in the chat room right now. I see you. You can't hide from me. Check out that brother's channel. Clap to him. We got Antonio. I see Antonio in there. Clap to you. Catherine with friends. Clap to you, sister. And where is your sister? Who usually rocks with you. We got RY. Brother Sheldon, you super chatted me, I believe, yesterday. And I want to apologize that I did not see that super chat to call your name out. But when I recognize it, I'll come back and bring it up in my next live stream. So thank you for that super chat the other day.
Thank you for the super chat.
We got Aquatics G, if I'm saying that name correctly. Thank you for being here. And we got my man Sir in the house. Check out his channel. George Frazier is in the house. He's been rocking with me for a long time. Mankind for 4. Edit Again Media is in the house. Peace to that sister. And that's what we got right now. That's okay. The important thing is that you all are here. And I think this video will get a lot more traction after the fact because I'm posting it in a lot of different sites. This is going to be in the LinkedIn too, because we're talking business and technology and career over here. These are the type of streams that we really need as a people. We need to be able to identify careers, occupations that are cutting edge and they're an area that are underutilized. What I want to do before I begin bringing Brother Ray Alexander on is I want to let you all know, if you're wondering, why can't I get my PlayStation 5? What's going on with that? Why can't I get the favorite iPhone I want? Why can't I get certain electronics that I desire? Why is there a holdup? Why can they not tell me when they can get it to me? Why are they saying, well, you have to call back, you'll have to shop around? It's precisely for the reason of what we're getting ready to talk about today, the semiconductor microchipping industry. They're underserved. There's not enough people in the field. There's a shortage of workers, a shortage of people that are skilled in the trade. This is a trade that we need to get into. So let me begin with this short video for you to see so you can get an idea where we're going here. And then I'm going to bring Brother Ray Alexander in right after that. This short little clip won't even take that long. And I want to appreciate everybody that's come in. Hit the bell of notification if you are new to this channel and subscribe. Hit the likes. Do me the favor. We got content creators out there. Share this in all your social media. Share this in your community tab. Bring your folks over here because this is a very important live stream. So if anybody has a desire to super chat me, I don't normally solicit for money. I appreciate the support because it goes into the show, goes into improving the show. And I got so many things coming down the pipeline for you folks. I've got another channel coming down the pipeline that's going to blow you away. I'm already preparing and working on that channel. That's going to be a vlog channel. You're going to see me out and about like you've never seen before because you never seen me do that before. That's coming down the pipeline. That's a channel has the potential to be a huge channel if I do it correctly. I'm going to put that link and pin it up if anybody wants to cash at me. No problem. I'm not putting any pressure on anybody. I just appreciate everybody for being here. Let's go into the clip right now to give you a little summary of where we're going at today. Check this out right now.
Chips are in everything, and they've been in short supply since just a few months into the pandemic last year. That's why it's been hard to buy everything from cars to PS5s. Turns out one company makes 24% of all the world's chips and more than 90% of the most advanced ones, the smallest, fastest chips used in today's iPhones, supercomputers, and automotive AI.
In fact, we even have product that's landed on the last Mars launch that are taking pictures of Mars.
Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, or TSMC, is not a household name, but it's quietly making chips for every new iPhone, U.S. fighter jets, the highest-end processors, you name it. And now it's investing $100 billion over 3 years to ramp up production amid the shortage.
The combined output of what we're doing is in excess of 12 million wafers a year.
But the world's massive reliance on TSMC may also leave the global chip supply vulnerable to earthquakes, drought, and geopolitical tensions with China.
It's become almost a monopoly at the leading edge, and all of those manufacturing operations, for the most part, are out of Taiwan, Hsinchu. That becomes a matter of national importance for the United States, but not only the United States, but the Western world.
TSMC almost always keeps its production sites closed to U.S. video crews, until now.
The total floor space for this fab is around 2.3 million square foot.
The U.S. was the birthplace of advanced silicon, but for decades now, it's been losing market.
All right. Let me turn something down. So there it is. That's an example of what we're talking about, ladies and gentlemen. Let me make sure that I got everything working correctly here. Hang on, folks. I'm going to bring Ray Alexander in. Let me know. Let's do a test here. Let me know if you can hear me nice and clearly. Earl Owens and with Identity Withheld, stay in the chat room. Stick around. I will be dropping that link to bring you brothers up in a moment. Let's do a test. Can everybody hear my mic? Put a 1 in the chat room if you can't hear. We got Mike V. He's a brother that is heavy into technology. And I definitely don't have a problem with Mike V coming upstairs, and because he does this sort of stuff. He talks about tech industry, and he's been doing it a hell of a long time. So even Mike V, you've got an invite as well. So everybody can hear. Okay, good. Just want to make sure. And so let's bring in Ray Alexander. Brother, how you doing? How you doing, brother? I'm glad that you're here.
I'm all good. How are you doing today? And hello to the chat audience and chat family as well.
Okay, I hope everybody can hear you. I'm glad that you're here. Let's get into this right now. You sent me an email some time ago. We've done other shows together, folks. Remember the shows that we did where we were talking about why black people should leave California and head back to the South? We even did one about black folks leaving the Chicago, Detroit area, the Northeast, and going back to the South. and those streams were extremely important streams and did very well. So Ray is no stranger to the platform here. But Ray, what made you say, hey man, let's talk about this particular area of technology and why black men should be involved in it as we talk about semiconductor microchip technology and why we should be trained in it? Go right ahead, Ray.
Okay, thanks. I'm glad that I could come on and talk about that because we need to be a part of everything that's advancing in society. Technology is moving forward and we need to be a part of that wave. And we have to get ourselves, if we want to be productive men in the 21st century, if we want to be financial contributors to families and communities, we're going to have to get into the wave of as everything is industrializing at higher levels. Some people are identifying this as the fourth industrial revolution. Like V talks about that a lot. We need to get into this. We cannot let this pass us by. Right now, some of the other reasons that I did want to discuss this on your show is that a part of the infrastructure bill was a part called the Innovation and Competition Act. And that's going to be $200 billion for research, for training, and on that. And the other two parts on that would be the CHIPS Act, which is the manufacture microchip semiconductors in the U.S. to get 10 major fabs. Those are called fabrication facilities built in the U.S. Most of them cost about $1 billion to build. So Congress is getting in, understanding the importance of this. And ideally, the Congressional Black Caucus would be one aspect to say, let's make sure we have diversity in this. Let's make sure that we have some of these schools, that HBCUs that are participating in some of this research, participating in this training, upgrading their curriculum to be a part of these types of things. And some are. And so those are some of the reasons, because we cannot get left behind. I think that for us to be moving, we need to be on the cutting edge of what's happening. We're blessed to be in a country that is the most powerful military on the earth. We have 25% of the world's economy. We are revitalizing in a lot of areas. There's going to be just the new people from all over the world want to come here, and we need to get on this. And a lot of people coming up from different countries in Asia are actually coming to be in this industry. So we want to make sure that we're well represented, that our needs are represented, and that we're in a part of the research, part of the manufacturing. And then at some point, I would like to see us in venture capital, equity investment in this at some point as we get a little bit more on what's happening.
Ray, let me put something out here. You see down the screen. Let me go with this first one right here. This one right here. Blacks in Technology hosts definitely conferences to inspire, educate, and showcase Black tech excellence, because 3% is not enough. There's a campaign, as you know, Ray, that's going on to push the idea of technology on the Black community to get involved in it. A couple years ago, I talked to a young man who is involved in Afro tech, and a lot of our people need to know that there is a lot of young Black millennials, younger generation, who are gravitating into technology. And in Oakland, California, where I lived at for quite a bit of time, at one point in time, there's a movement there called Afro tech. I interviewed a brother who's involved in that Afro tech, which basically features Black men and women that are heavily involved in this tech industry and are going to be they are the scientists and the minds of the future. And there are a lot of folks that don't realize that there are a lot of our people who are involved in the Afro tech movement or in technology. And you wouldn't believe the narrative that we're lazy, shiftless, that we're all thugs. We got our pants below our behind, like we got a bowel movement. It's not true. We've got more young Black males and young Black females that are getting into this tech. And that's why it's important for us to push STEM as well. Now, he told me some things that were fantastic. They have an annual conference every year in Oakland, California around Afro tech. And this is why it's important for us to get involved in this career, ladies and gentlemen. Check this out. I'm going to read here. there are currently 600,000 unfilled jobs in technology fields. The United States Department of Labor predicts that this number will nearly double in the coming years. In that video that I showed you before, there's other videos that I looked at. The Chinese, Taiwan, I think Chinese and other ethnic groups, particularly in Asia, they are really starting to dominate. I think is it the Chinese are dominating by 75% in the microchip field?
It would be the Taiwanese, which are
Taiwanese. I'm sorry, Taiwanese.
They're originally Chinese, similar, but Taiwan separated after Mao Zedong took over the mainland of China. So
Yes.
right now, Taiwan semiconductor manufacturing is one of the premier. But we can't sleep on Intel. Intel is in the United States, is one of the premier microchip manufacturers, as well as Texas Instruments, a few others. So Intel is one of the leaders. But as far as some of the advanced stuff, major productions, and that's why you're seeing expansions of the existing fabs. Those are the fabrication facilities at different locations within the U.S. and also Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company building. They're actually building two in Arizona. And both of those fabs are over $1 billion facilities. And it's going to be self-sufficient in water production, water reclamation, as well as recycling, because they use a lot of water. It's going to be very secure on that. And there are jobs, about 20% of the jobs do not require a college degree. This is one of the most advanced manufacturing facilities that you would want to be a part of. People, and this is time for brothers at really all ages. We want to see the millennials get into that, Gen Z, but we want to see some people in that career changes. There are opportunities to do this work in a variety of locations, and we need to get brothers into this thing so that we can be a part of this. This is not something that we can sleep on. Like you said,
Right.
your smartphone. Right now, a lot of the Detroit manufacturers have slowed down shifts because there's a shortage of microchips.
Right.
Go ahead.
Ray, can you read this off here? You spoke on it a little bit earlier. These are the United States is trying to make a comeback in this profession. But down here, the top semiconductor manufacturing companies. Can you read that off for folks to hear?
Right. We got Intel Corporation, NVIDIA Corporation, Texas Instruments, Micron Technology, Qualcomm, and I think Broadcom is right after that. We got a couple more coming in on that. So we have some, as far as Intel, as far as the gross revenues, is one of the major gross revenues. I think it's bigger than TSMC. So we're in play. There's another major American company called Advanced Micro Devices. And so we want to make sure that we are a part of that. And there are different ways that we can enter the profession, and there are different opportunities, but we have to make sure that the bills that are being passed, this $52 billion CHIPS, and it's called the CHIPS Act, the Fabs Act. This is to maintain microchip presence here, to expand it. We need to make sure that we're a part of that we're getting in on that we are well represented in these things, because these impact us. These chips that impact the delivery of healthcare, the delivery of electricity, the delivery of transportation, logistics. Everything is impacted by these chips. Some things that we play, but everything that we want to be in. And because also the people that manufacture these things need to have our insights. On the ground level and the management level and at the board of director levels, they need to understand why we need to be a part of that, because this is going to impact us.
Okay. Let me read here, Ray. According to Blacks in Technology, approximately, as we said earlier, 3% of workers at the top 75 technological companies identified as Black, reflecting a significant gap between people of African descent in the tech industry. Ray, why is that what's going on? Why is it that the gap is that big when we have a profession that is in need of people? Okay. as it says right here, by 2025, there will be approximately 3.5 million STEM jobs across the United States that need to be filled. Of these 3.5 million, 2 million will not be filled due to a lack of qualified candidates. So what is the problem? What do you think is the problem as it relates to black men and, of course, black women? What is it that we need to do as a solution to change those numbers when this is truly the future?
A part of it is exposure, and another part is preparation. So the exposure part is that we can get the Congressional Black Caucus, we can get state level black congressional caucuses or state level representatives to go ahead and talk about this, make sure this is in schools. We can get the media to talk about how important these jobs are, and we can do things like robotics camps, STEM camps, and just let people know that these are good careers to be a part of. These are interesting jobs. Some people consider it fun. These are things that are the waves of the future. But I think it's a lack of exposure, lack of solid preparation from elementary school to high school. And so at that point, we need to address those issues. But many times for adults, you can get into different levels of it. The higher levels are going to be, you're going to require more education. But at this basic manufacturing level, we can prepare people to get into that. But I think it's really a matter of exposure. And when Congress starts signing these innovation bills, that's like a $252 billion act. 52 billion of that dollars would be for CHIP and the Fabs Act. When Congress is doing that, they're saying we want to maintain competitiveness, we want to renovate, we want to innovate on different things. The CBC, the Congressional Black Caucus, has to be a part of that. They have to make sure we're going to have those types of technologies, those type of training at North Carolina A&T. We're going to have it at Atlanta Technical Institute. We're going to have it at community colleges. We're going to have this available for a variety of people so that they can be a part of that.
Let me read this. We got Gregory X in the house, Murray, Black Votron Reloaded, Super Mike 2164. Make sure y'all share this video. It's very important. We got Fashion for Life. This sister's a mod in my chat room. Really great. I'm glad that she came over because look at what she just wrote. She said, I graduated from an information technology program here in the Bay Area. And those Indian recruiters stayed calling me all the time. Basically, she's saying they were calling her phone off the hook and that the money is good. The question is, are you still in the profession, my sister? So she's saying that they've been calling her phone off the hook, trying to get her to come on in and utilize her skills. And this is the reason why, folks, when you ask yourself, why can't I not get my iPhone 13 or my PlayStation 5? What's going on? You don't have enough people producing these chips. There's a shortage of people that are able to produce these chips. Of course, we've had people that were wiped out by this virus as well, and that really slowed down production. The United States, as you know, is trying to get back into this game of manufacturing because, you know, a lot of things in this country has been outsourced, Ray. And this is really, I'm really glad that she made those statements. Ray, just what I want to put up here before we bring other folks on to this discussion. Let me put this up here. Workers in the semiconductor industry are highly productive wage reflecting that 170,000 annual income on an average. And this was just in 2020. Let everybody know, Ray, how lucrative these particular professions are and why they should consider getting training in it. And maybe you should consider introducing your children, your son, your daughter, and how important technology is to our youth to learn this sort of stuff. I mean, let me just say this, not to be too long-winded here. I noticed black people in general, when I was in college, we tend to go into the humanity arts, right? Teaching, English teacher. We tend to go into fields, and I've heard people say this. We go into fields where there really isn't no lucrative job in the field, right? Mm-hmm. You might you may go to school and get a degree in psychology, and you might either teach or work towards getting your PhD. But people in those fields, you don't really make a whole lot of money And some people in their criticism would say we need to be guiding our kids, if not to entrepreneurship, we need to be guiding them to technology and less occupations that are less lucrative. Although we're always going to need teachers, because without teachers, you can't mold the minds of children to even have the idea that, hey, I want to be in technology. I want to be a computer technician, what have you. I said a mouthful there, but go ahead, Ray. What are your thoughts?
We're at an all hands on deck stage. We need to go into everything. Everything's going to be impacted by technology anyway, but we need more black men in teaching. Only 2% of public school teachers are black men. We definitely need that to provide guidance and discipline, encouragement to these young brothers, and also assisting that. We need more black men in social work. So everything we need, but this is for people who really feel that they want to be a part of this industry. It's competitive. It can be learned very well, and it can pay very well. So there are a number of steps, and I do look forward to the brothers who are I work in medical finance, so this is not directly my field. I do research in a lot of areas, but I'm looking forward to them coming on.
Okay.
But there are a number of avenues. People can start through community colleges. There are some federal Department of Labor, what we call apprenticeships in technology. So some of the companies are doing that. And from some of the information that we get, the people who were in the training classes, they were recruited out of training before they finished the training because the demand was that high. So like I said, I do agree in all hands on deck. We do need to put our kids in STEM camps. We need to make sure we're reading to our kids, that they have, monthly or maybe every other week they complete a book, that they do book reports, reading, writing, arithmetic, all of the basic fundamentals we need to make sure that they're getting, and we need to be pointing them in the direction of STEM. We need to consider this, consider engineering, consider computer science, consider medicine, consider all of those areas that require science background, consider that. And the STEM camps make all of that fun for kids and also for career changers. If you're in your 30s, 40s, or 50s, there are areas in technology that you can make a pivot on. If you've been doing something that's been unfulfilling, go to your what they call the Workforce Commission in your state, or the State Employment Commission. Find those tests and find out what you can do in this industry, and you may be able to career change, increase your income by 25%, 30%. And everybody's not going to be in the manufacturing side. They're going to be project managers, program managers. They're going to be software designers. They're going to be network architects. There are a whole broad field that you can get into, but we need to go ahead and make sure that we're a part of this. I don't want us to miss out on this because we're not getting the exposure. I'm not hearing the Congressional Black Caucus talk about this. And they need to be talking about this, saying, hey, you need to get into this. And also they need to say, we need to have these programs at community colleges. We need to have these programs at HBCUs, training the next generation in cybersecurity, training the next generation in semiconductor manufacturing. They can do it. And so there's a school in Texas called Prairie View A&M. You get a chance to, they have a fabrication center. It's like a $30 million facility. Texas is a rich state. So in Texas, Prairie View and A&M is a part of the Texas A&M system. If you'll Google and look at that new fabrication center, they're training people in this. So you can go to an HBC, you study and learn these things, and it's very affordable in-state. It's not, you don't have to borrow a whole lot of money. There are various ways that you can get to these schools, but that's just one school that recruits. Texas Instruments recruits there heavily. Intel, a lot of these places, but you can go to North Carolina A&T, Alabama A&M, just wherever you find it, but get into the game, because this is, like, as you said, we can't let this pass us by. This is too important. And that's why the federal government is putting all this money into it.
Okay. Oh, that's exactly what I was going to say. As it says here, chipping in the United States semiconductor industry workforce and how the federal incentives will increase domestic jobs. I think you basically broke that down. If Earl Owens is in the chat room, I specifically put the links in there because I wanted both Identity Withheld is already with us right now. I'm going to go to him in just a moment. but I'm looking for Earl Owens, another brother who has experience in this profession. Don't be shy. Click the link, come on upstairs and add to the discussion because this is something that I have no expertise in, and I would rather have people who do have expertise or experience to be able to give us a perspective that we may not be able to give people that perspective because they've had hands-on experience in the occupation. So Earl Owens, if you are in the chat room, I put the link in there. We are waiting for you, brother. Come on upstairs. I'm going to put it in there again. This is specifically for brother Earl Owens. Come on upstairs and join us. Well, I understand quite well. We pretty much understand the feds are incentivizing this now because we're in a race. We're in a race to see who's going to be the king of this technology. And we don't want other countries to out leverage us because that's always been the American way. Don't get out leveraged. Now, the issue around the Congressional Black Caucus, I have a lot of bone to pick with them because this is the sort of stuff, Ray, that they should be talking about. Yes. I don't understand why the Congressional Black Caucus doesn't talk about these sort of issues more. They often will come out and tell us we got to vote for Joe Biden. We got to vote for this person and that person who 9, 10 times do little to nothing for us. And here comes Ray Alexander. So I'm going to bring him up. But let me bring in Identity Withheld. Give him a clap. He's here with us. I think the brother told me yesterday that he either is in the profession right now or has experience in it, but he'll speak for himself. Brother, how you doing? Welcome. I think the brother told me yesterday that he either is in the profession right now or has... Let me mute that. Identity Withheld, are you there? Identity Withheld. Okay. I'll come back. He might be doing something right now. Let me go over to Earl Owens. And make sure that you mute any computer or device that you have in the background because I'm already hearing some feedback. So make sure you mute that because that's bringing the soundbite right into the broadcast. Thank you. Let me see. Earl Owens, I think, has muted himself. Identity Withheld, are you there? Okay. Okay. Earl Owens, are you there?
Information man, I'm here.
Okay,
here,
brother. All right, whatever. Okay. If you have anything in the background, brother, just kind of mute it down because the back sound. But you sound okay right now. You said you left me a message yesterday, and I'm glad to have you up here. You've been you've been supporting the channel for a long time, and I really appreciate that. You always give me positive. You always say positive things about the show, and you always have positive and powerful things to say in the chat room, and I really appreciate that. You made it clear to me yesterday that this is a profession that you have firsthand experience with. So let us know, brother. Lay it on us. I don't know why I'm hearing this back sound.
Yeah, I'm hearing feedback.
Why is there feedback?
Okay, you hear me now, Info?
Yeah, I hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, so when I got out of the Army, the Army trained me in electronics. I spent 10 years in the United States Army, and I learned electronics through the Army. So I did my job hunt. I was stationed in Georgia, and I went to a job fair and did this interview, and it took me to California, to Santa Clara. So I was working for a semiconductor equipment manufacturing company. So this company actually made the equipment that makes the semiconductor wafers chips, and they sell that equipment to Intel, Samsung, SK Hynix, all those, manufacturers that actually make the chips. And I stayed in that industry for 9 years. And from my experience, the particular division I was in, there was 400 people in that division, and I can count on my I can count on my two hands the number of brothers in there. There was like 8 of us in there. And honestly, it was 75% Asian in that division. That was when I was working in Santa Clara and Sunnyvale, California.
Mm-hmm.
And but they had a manufacturing facility in Austin, Texas, and I did see a lot more brothers working in Austin, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Wow.
didn't have a degree at the time. I just had
Mm-hmm.
the experience that I had from the Army working in
Mm-hmm.
maintenance. And take note, they do hire veterans a lot. So I had coworkers from the Navy, Air Force, Marines, and
Mm-hmm.
they didn't have no degree as well. They just had the experience that they learned from the military. So they
Wow.
do, I would say, hire at least 25% of their workforce from the military. But now I do see community colleges having training in semiconductor technology. Now,
Yes.
if you want to get started, the minimum looks like it's an associate degree just to be on the maintenance end of working on the equipment that makes the chips, like I did. So with that, if you want to go higher, you do have to get that bachelor's degree, master's degree.
Mm-hmm.
And with this job, I traveled to Asia pretty much exclusively. I went to mainland China, I went to Singapore, I went to Taiwan, went to South Korea, and I was working on it. I was either installing the equipment, putting out a fire because something went wrong with the equipment and the customer was mad, or just general maintenance on the equipment, or doing
Right.
um, special projects with the equipment.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, I stayed 9 years in that industry. I worked at a company called Applied Materials. That was the company that basically builds the equipment and sells it to Intel and Samsung.
Mm-hmm.
I got laid off in 2004 because I started in 2000. Then I worked for Intel. So when I was working at Intel, we were making chips for Nokia back then, and I stayed at
Nokia, I remember because they had the phones and stuff. Oh
right,
yeah.
right. So when I joined Intel, that was the actual manufacturing facility in Santa Clara, and I stayed there for about a year. Then a buddy of mine who's a Marine got me hooked up to go back to Applied Materials for even more money. So that's when I was on the Korean account.
Mm-hmm.
My customers being Samsung and SK Hynix. So that's when I was traveling back and forth to South Korea, and SK Hynix had a fabrication plant in Wuxi, China. So I did that for 3 years, and then in 2009, the the thing that happened in my time during this industry
Mm-hmm.
was cyclic, so it was going up and down, up and down. So when things is up, money is flowing. They're saying, okay, you can fly business class, first class. When it's down, they're doing layoffs. They're doing
Mm.
cuts and everything. And I went through 3 of those in the 9 years that I worked in there. But now that I see, since there's a demand on chips, on semiconductor chips, the demand should be high for employment. I just checked my old employer, Applied Materials,
Mm-hmm.
and they have 1,400 job openings in the United States right now.
Right.
And I'm in Washington State. Um, Next state over, Portland, they have Intel has fabrication plants, and
Mm-hmm.
they have openings down there. Of course, there's in California, there's semiconductor, fabs there as well. Texas, Samsung has a fabrication plant there. On the East Coast, there's Global Foundries. Global Foundries is an equivalent to TSMC
Mm-hmm.
because TSMC is a foundry. Global Foundries is a foundry. A foundry is all they do is crank out those chips because they take orders from your Apple, all these other chip manufacturers that don't have the infrastructure to make the chips, so they just crank out the chips for those contracts.
Okay.
So I would say to anyone that's interested, do your research, get educated, and get in this industry. It doesn't take a lot to get your foot in the door. Just have that aptitude for that math and science, for electronics, electrical, mechanical. There's material science as well that you can get in. And that's pretty much it.
Earl Owens, would you say that when you were in the profession, you were in the profession at a time where things were they weren't like, it wasn't like a demand on it. It was kind of like people were in the profession, like you said, they were able to lay people off and still produce these chips. But now you see how things kind of flip around. Here we are in the year 2021, getting ready to go in the year 2022, and they're talking about they have a shortage of workers. There's all these jobs available within the profession. And they're also saying that not only are they undermanned, underwomaned, but they're also, people are undereducated to be, people don't have the education or the training. Let me ask you this. You said you didn't have necessarily the bachelor's degree or the master's degree. Is there a way that someone, because I was reading somewhere where they were talking about kids trying to focus on the youth and get them involved in this profession. Do you necessarily have to have a bachelor's or a master's degree? Obviously, you would need that to be at the highest level of the profession, of course. But can someone get training in a apprenticeship in this profession, or do you need to at least have at the very least, let me say, a bachelor's of art, and then they have some kind of apprentice program? I don't know. I know when people go into becoming like electrical engineers, because I have someone I know, he didn't even go to college. He got into an apprenticeship program. I don't know. I know when people go into becoming like electrical engineers, because I have someone I know.
I haven't heard of any apprenticeships per se. Now, as far as like the community colleges,
yes,
the community colleges have been adding semiconductor technology to their coursework. So that would be one way to get in.
Junior college. Okay.
Right. And you got to have that aptitude of, I mean, my math isn't all that great. My math isn't all that great, but I know enough to be dangerous.
Right.
Like I said,
No.
I learned electronics. The Army trained me in electronics.
Now, let me read this real quick.
Okay.
See, this is the thing. We have to figure out what's facts and what's fiction. And I know a lot of people sometimes don't believe what is being reported. All I know is that I've been on the earth for 51 years, Sister Vales, and I've never seen a situation where there was a shortage on microchips. But then we got to keep in mind, Sister Vales, that there's been an impact by this virus, meaning you got people that got sick, people who didn't make, I don't know why there's this back sound. I'm going to have to mute everybody because it's bringing in this back sound, and I don't know where it's coming from. You have a situation where that people have either died of this virus in that workforce, so that would cut down the number of people that can actually create the microchips. I just set up here, Mrs. 12 Veils, and I looked at various videos, did my research on this industry, and all of them across the board, there is they say that there's a shortage. But they're particularly saying that in the United States of America, we have a shortage. There's other countries that have a more dominant workforce in this profession than we do, but even those countries are now being impacted by whatever you want to say, the virus. Maybe you can say, well, maybe they're not being honest with us because they want to drive up demand for these products so that the corporations can make a lot of money come Christmas time. Hey, you can have a lot of those thoughts. And I ain't hating on nobody for that. 12L says, I don't believe that the agencies don't have the staffing. All I can do is I can say this too. I know for a fact, because I've worked in medicine in the medical health industry for a long time now. We have a shortage of every goddamn thing in this country. We have a shortage of teachers. We have a shortage of nurses. I know because I've been in the profession. Not everybody is going to college to get these technical skills, or do they have the money to go to the college? So people sometimes try other professions that are not as rigorous economically. But we do have a shortage of people in various professions. And I think some of that is because they have shipped some of those jobs from America to other countries and they've outsourced jobs. There's a whole lot of different factors that we can look at. But 12 L's, I hear what you're saying. I want people to speak their mind in the chat room, even if it's something that we agree or disagree with. That's how we all learn together. Let me go back over to Earl Owens, and then I'm going to go to identity withheld. Earl, what do you say? In identity, you can step in and say something about this too, brother, as
Hey,
well.
information man.
Yes,
I
sir.
just looked up Global Foundries. I'm on Global Foundries website,
Okay.
and they do offer a maintenance technician apprenticeship.
Okay.
So this is the actual, like I said, the foundry that cranking out the chips.
Okay.
So they actually offered apprenticeship in
Okay.
basic routine preventive maintenance and equipments,
Mm-hmm.
assisted monitoring of the tool performance,
Mm-hmm.
assisted qualifications of
Oh,
the
wow.
tool sets, and participate in continuous improvement processes.
Mm-hmm.
And you just click apply there. So I would say, yes, do your research,
Mm-hmm.
find out each and every one of these companies, Global Foundries, Intel, Texas Instruments, even check with Samsung because they got a factory in Austin, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And check and see if they have an apprenticeship program where they're willing to train you.
Mm-hmm. What's going on, Black Wolf? Black Wolf, good to see you over here. He has a gaming channel. Check out his gaming channel. It's pretty good, actually. I'm a mod over there. Look, 12 L's made a good point. She said that outsourcing, it's all about the outsourcing. Has outsourcing, and anybody can touch on this.
I would
Has
love to touch
outsourced?
on that.
Go ahead. I want you to do it. Identity withheld. Can you get in? Yeah, get into that area.
And again, sorry for the mic issue earlier. Hello, channel. Hello, chat. Hello, information man.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I wasn't going to get on the outsourcing part yet, but I guess since it's on the table,
Mm-hmm.
I would say I think at some point as a country, we're going to
Mm-hmm.
realize outsourcing is great for the company
Mm-hmm.
because it saves that company
Right.
money. But what it also does is it I guess ostracizes the workers that are here or designers or technicians and this idea that American workforce is too expensive so you have to go outsource. It may be great for that company, but it also weakens the home field. So
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
think that's going to come to a head at some point. I think that's going to come to a head at some point. And businessmen definitely and businesswomen definitely feel like, hey, as long as you get those margins up, you get that profit up. It doesn't matter, but it
Okay.
cripples some things in this country. So, um,
Okay. Identity withheld. Let me ask you this question because 12 L,
yeah,
she's putting some good information in the chat room. She says you can't report this. This is what she says here. You can't report that you have a demand for staffing and then fire existing staff because they refuse to take the jab. And I don't want to go. I don't want to turn
yeah,
this
yeah.
into the jab subject matter today, but she does have a good point. I don't know how many of these companies have let people go because of that. But what I've been hearing is that they don't have enough people that are trained in the profession because a lot of people are not going into these tech jobs. Or
Yeah.
no, let me correct that. It appears like people are not going into these tech jobs because I really don't know the numbers. You may know them better than I do. Identity.
Well, if you owned a company and you know of some unknown wherever it came from virus blah 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 that could take out your entire staff, do you put everybody that you have in way of that. And I mean, I don't want to play that game because you can go down that political path and all that other stuff. I don't play that game, but trust me, I am in that industry. I am what you call and I don't want to give too much information out, but I
Yeah,
am
yeah,
in that
yeah.
design space. So let
Hmm.
me first by open up because I actually wrote some things down based on just the conversation thus far.
Okay, go right ahead,
Um,
brother.
I wanted to open up and say I wanted to do something a little different than what the other two brothers was bringing to the table. So I'm trying to kind of bring it full circle. I want to open up with saying, "Let me be your example," and
Okay.
this will all make sense. Reasons why we're not in that space. One, most that I've seen is ignorance. Not disrespectful, but ignorance. You just don't know about it. Either your
Okay.
family does, your friends, whoever. You just didn't get that information to know how important technology in this space and how big it is and how big it will be. I mean, the world depends on it. I mean, it's ridiculous how much we don't know about it. But it's just
Hmm.
information transfer. The second thing I have doubt based on that ignorance. Some people don't think it's even worth getting into that space, right? So they doubt it. I don't know much about it. So how big of a deal can it be? And then my third biggest one would be inability to see themselves in such a position. If they can't
Okay.
see it for themselves, it's hard to tell someone else how great it could be for them. So
So,
again, I'm gonna go
identity
back
withheld.
to
If you got 3% of people who look like us compared to 75% that are non-black people within the profession, 3% only, then you don't, like you said, you don't see you can't imagine yourself in the field because you don't see
yeah.
people that look like you.
So that's why I opened up with let
Mm,
me be your example.
okay.
And I'm gonna stay on that because just a little brief history. Um, Early age, I thought I was under a generational curse. Like my ceiling was defined. That was it. I'm going to go a certain way, get a job, raise a family, and die in my neighborhood. Like that type ideology I was carrying as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Brought up in poverty. Anybody out there complaining about, hey, I didn't have anything? Let me be your example. I was brought up in poverty. I know the life of living in the projects. Dropped out of college, worked labor jobs, did all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Returned to school in by 25 roughly. Community college. I went to community college. Hey, that's not a knock to say you can't do it. I've done it. Um, just a little note on that. If you do go to community college and you plan on transferring to a 4-year degree or PhD, whatever you want to do, you can actually go to a community college and tell them, I only want credits that transfer over to a specific university. They have a list of that. So you don't even have to spin your wheels on things. You can literally get every credit that they take. So when you walk in the door of that 4-year university, there's nothing you have to repeat. I did it. Trust me. Let me be your example of that. Um, when I went through the ranks, I did have a draw for the that space of semiconductors. I studied under trying to be a PhD in semiconductor physics. I was really
Mm-hmm.
good at math only because I decided to. Trust me, the smartest guy in the class is not as smart as you think. He just read the book a week earlier. That's the only difference. So
Mm.
again, let me be your example. Um, the higher you go in this space academically, the less you will see of yourself. Trust me. When by the time I got to master's level, I was the only one. I was the only one. Now, I came in back in, backwards hats and jerseys and baggy pants. That was me. But I was in those classes. I was in those classes. So again, let me be your example. There's no excuse if someone actually is giving you this information. So hopefully anybody within earshot of this can get something out of this. I wish I had this type of voice when I was a kid. I probably would be in the space a little deeper, but
Mm-hmm.
I started a little early. But again, no excuse. I did it before. Not to say that everybody can do it, but there is a chance. I'm trying to knock down some barriers here for some people thinking right now, sitting and listening to this live, how can I even possibly do it? You can do it. You got to apply yourself for one. Anyone who's laid off in this space, okay, I did learn about something called career equity. Right now, I may have self-define that term or that term, but what I'm talking about is when I joined the space, I was testing semiconductor designs. That was where
Okay.
I thought, okay, this is where I'm going to be. And then I started looking at the designer's work and realizing it looks like they're playing Minecraft. I swear to you, if you ever see this type of work, it looks like video games. It
Hmm.
looks like video games. Designing all these chips and it looks like someone's playing a video game. I'm a gamer head, so I'm thinking, hell, I can do that. I just
Mm-hmm.
need to learn how to do it. Got laid off with testing. I When I got laid off, I spent 8 months training myself how to get in that space on my living room couch before I got my dream job of designing. Now, when I walked in the door, they were willing to accept anybody who could spell microchip because they really wanted to bring people in and train them. Let me give you what you need. All you need is you got to get your bachelor's to at least walk in certain doors, not all. But if you want to be a designer, if you want to be in that space, not just working at the fab house, or if you want to actually design the chips that go into the fab house, that's a whole nother side of it. And that's my space. So I do deal with that side of design, fab houses and all that stuff. I know all the shortages and all that stuff, but somebody had to sit down and design the iPhone. Somebody had to sit down and design every PlayStation chip that goes into your house. Somebody sat down. That could be you. And I love telling this story because, again, I love to be someone else's example because I can only tell you where I could be had I had this information earlier. So
Mm-hmm.
hopefully I'm giving somebody out there some idea of they can do it too. It's just more of applying yourself, knowing who to talk to. I'm willing to help anybody out, willing to actually take a shot at this stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
the work, um, I'm gonna really ruffle some feathers here, information man. The reason why I'm really strong on this space is because I feel like technology itself, it's a moving machine that it constantly moves and it constantly evolves.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very passionate about it because at some point I realized that you can have 10 guys with 10 different ideologies of religion and this and that and the other. And I came up with the concept of the math and sciences behind this is more universal than their own gods. And that when I thought of that, I was like, holy crap. This thing is like it's a moving machine that we know nothing about. Not enough. 3% is
Right.
not anything. And if we're talking about generational wealth or generational curses broken and there is a way to create a demand for you, not necessarily asking somebody for crumbs and say, no, if you know enough about this space, you can get in there where they're going to be calling you. And that is a definite truth. The more deep you go into the chips, the sciences behind it. Now, I don't expect everybody to go out there and get a PhD in semiconductors. Like, that's not what I'm expecting. But even if you shoot high enough, you can definitely change your world. And if enough of us do it, I feel like that's a much better move towards bringing us up than
Mm-hmm.
waiting for someone to realize we should be brought up. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, it makes sense a
I'm
lot.
sorry for being so long, well,
No, no, no,
long-winded
it's
there.
okay. Let me do this because I want to see what Ray has to say. He's been quiet, patient. I want to hear what Ray has to say about what has been said so far. Ray, any thoughts? You have two brothers on here who have experience in this particular profession. One who is currently involved in it. One who had experience in it at one point in time. They talked about back in the day that there was now, today.
Yes. Can you
No
hear me
matter
okay?
how we think it is, they're saying that they don't have enough staff that have the technical skills in the field right now, that there's a slowdown in microchips, whether we want to believe that or not. Something is obviously going on. But Ray, what is your thoughts from what you've been hearing so far?
I think that the information is very good to hear the practical side of it as well. I'm going to take it for face value that the shortages are for real. People are building, multi-billion dollar fabs in the
Mm-hmm.
U.S. Part
Mm-hmm.
of it is because these congressional acts are to make sure that we have fabs in the U.S. for national security. So hopefully the wave will be that we'll be in demand. These technologies are advancing very rapidly. So the demand, the type of fab that they're building, and it's a fifth generation fab that's doing this type of nanotechnology. So it should increase. So we have the federal government saying that, hey, we need all of these types of things, or the majority, made in the U.S. So I do think it's a real shortage on that. I do think that there are opportunities. As you said, as the gentleman said, there are different levels of it. Get in where you can fit in. I mean, sometimes you may have to start out at one place, learn that. And for some people, that might be nice. There's a brother that's named, remember, if you still have that piece where I sent you, where you got to look at as well, where the gentleman named Otis at Intel shows his career. He's been a manufacturing tech. He's a senior tech now for like 20 years at Intel. It shows his family on that. So some people are going to go in there and say, I really like this is what I want to do. Others, like the other gentleman, will get their bachelor's degree, maybe their master's. They may become designers. Some will become project managers. Some will be program managers. And then you have people work support. You're going to always need people in accounting. You're going to always need people in human resources. And another, you're going to need people in sales, business to business sales on that. Some of the project managers in sales make some really good money as well. So get in somewhere, but don't just miss this industry, because I do believe, as the other two gentlemen, it's exposure as well. And we need to start writing, emailing, discussing this with the Congressional Black Caucus. When you put this in there, okay, make sure you have programs for outreach to tell young kids about that. Not just young kids, adults. You can change an adult's life around. If someone they had something on PBS the other day, how these people who have been working as, one brother had been working for 7 years at a Starbucks and an IBM office in Durham, North Carolina. He got some apprenticeship training to be a software engineer and tripled his income.
Right.
Imagine how, and that was a brother, a young man. Imagine how you would feel. You sitting up here, you're serving the people who are coming right out of school, and you've gotten these things. And it's just opportunity, but we got to get exposure. We've got to have high regard. But I think the adults have to be adults. The Congressional Black Caucus, parents got to really be parents and say, look, take them to this campus. I happen to live in a suburb that is 20% Asian. And I can tell you, not just by reading, I can tell you anecdotally, they invest a lot in their children as far as schooling, time in education, time in homework, extracurricular, almost, reading music, playing musical instruments. All of these things cultivating and developing their skill sets that you don't even imagine are really important. So we've got to get into this, because this is vital. What we don't want to do is let this big wave happen, and then they have everybody else in this, and we're still complaining, because there are jobs that we can do. As they said, 20% of the positions are non-college required. Some people will like that, others will not. And then they'll want to build upon that, but it's all hands on deck. So I think both of the gentlemen and everybody that's been adding information to the chat has been adding some information that's really valuable and important.
Let me just say this, going to what we're talking about. I know people are questioning whether there really is a shortage, but I think something's going on, because Oregon's chip, this all the clips that you see at the bottom, this all comes out of research and articles that Ray Alexander emailed me. I looked all this stuff up and I seen videos. There is something going on. And it says here, Oregon's chip industry facing labor shortages. They're turning to TV and radio ads to actually hire people still in school. So if you're in school and you're going into technology, you could still be in school and get yourself on with one of these corporations, one of these agencies, one of these these big conglomerates.
Well, here's the interesting part, information, man.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate the information you're providing, but anyone doubting whether or not staffing is there, the need to get involved it still exists, whether you believe the staffing shortage exists or not. As a space, we need to be in it. We need to be in it. I'm not saying forget the shortage and all of that. The demand is actually going to rise when all these shortages start hitting home, and products start getting pushed back
Right.
on deliveries and all of that. But either way, whether you doubt the shortage or not, we need to be in this space.
And so the truth of the matter, brother, is instead of us focusing on all the, well, why is there a shortage? We need to be focusing more on how do we get our asses in the
Yes.
profession? How do we get
Yes.
our kids trained to be prepared in the
Yes.
profession? How can we become entrepreneurs in this? And that's why I said earlier, I don't know if you were here earlier, Identity Withheld. Are you
I've been there.
familiar? This is in Oakland, California, and I've talked to a brother that's involved in it. We cannot cut ourselves short. There's a program or a movement in Oakland, California called Afrotech. Every year they have a major conference. And when I met with him was a couple of years ago, I interviewed him. He said there's major companies that are investing in Afrotech, that Afrotech is really opening up the eyes and getting the attention of major industry movers and shakers, because it is filled with intelligent, talented Black females and male tech heads. And I want to say this because I know somebody's going to say this, and I've had my thoughts about it too. A lot of times when we have great, talented young people in our community, I often wonder, why can't we take that talent and create our own conglomerate businesses instead of letting traditional businesses of like Intel and all these bigger conglomerates. They take the talent that comes out of our community, they tap into it, make money off that talent, when I personally think that we should some kind of way harness the talent. But the problem with our community, or some people in our community, some of us, is that we don't have infrastructure. And of course, we don't have much old money too, but we don't have that infrastructure already built where we can hire young Black people right out of school and say, hey, I'm a Black man who owns a big tech company. Come on over here and work for me. Let us show you the skills that you can someday build your own. We don't have that, not on a large scale. What is your thoughts about that? Anybody can take that question, that thought.
Yeah, that reminds me of an older movie. I'm going to date myself. Actually, this movie's before me. The Spook Who Stood by the Door.
Yes,
I
that's an
did not know
excellent
about
movie.
that movie until someone of an older generation told me about it, and I went back and watched it. So the idea is to get enough of what you need. So
Mm-hmm.
when you make your exit, you're taking something with you. And this goes back to what I mentioned, for me, for a personal stance of mine, career equity. Just being in that space of, like I said, being unemployed and realizing I was no more important than what that company saw me as. And then I
Mm-hmm.
realized I have to do something different. So I wanted to do something more slam dunk, right? Like, okay, I'm not going to come in the door asking for anything. You're going to see me and you're going to say, I want you to come and talk to me and see if we can find a spot for you. I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
be in that position. And when I realized that this space had it, at the time, I didn't realize how big of a need it was for just the Black community. Like, wow, like
Mm-hmm.
I wish I could tell everybody about this. You
Right.
know, it doesn't have to be the nerds who get involved in all of this. I'll admit I'm a little bit of a nerd. I'll give you that. But
Mm-hmm.
the idea of just getting in that space, the longer I've been in it, the more I realize I'm sort of a loner, because I don't have like people around me that I know. I'm very unique when I walk in the door, but and sometimes they get surprised when they find out, oh, community college kid, yeah, no Ivy League here, like, but I'm still sitting at the same table, coming up with the same concepts that everybody are in there doing. So there is, I would love to be someone's example of that. If anybody wants to, come ask questions, whatever, I am more willing to help out as much as I can, because I know how important it is for us to get that piece of the pie, but we
Mm-hmm.
have to want it. We have to want it. And people like me would have to at least convince those who are ignorant to it
Mm-hmm.
to know the importance of having it, and also showing, look, there shouldn't be anything outside of just physical, disability, even get to the job that'll keep you from this. Like that, there shouldn't be anything in front of you. I've heard all the, white man got the foot on my neck, and I've heard that. But if I
Mm-hmm.
have a piece that I can't be denied because my talents are wanted more than that hatred for what I look like,
Yes.
that's more important for me.
All right.
And again, that to me, I'm not waiting on a lottery to happen for me to change the lives of my family. Like, I can't do that.
No.
My grandmother did that, great grandmother did that. I can't do that. So I'm trying to find something that is more like a steady growth, but
Hmm.
also I want to share it with the world if I can, or with the people that need it. I would love to do that. So that's my
Yeah.
giving back, so to speak.
I certainly believe personally that we can multitask. And I think black people, we need to definitely think about, okay, on the one hand, we're doing something over here, but that does not mean that we can't prepare ourselves for something on the other hand. Let me just say this. I want to say peace to everybody in the chat room. I think people have been dropping the link because the conference for Afrotech is coming up in November in Oakland. So I want to thank those in the chat room for putting that out there. You're doing a hell of a job. The mods are doing a hell of a job.
Information is power.
I want to appreciate you all for doing that. Kujin87, who's been a long time supporter of the channel. I see him in the chat room. Peace to you, brother. Um, Peace to Craig R. I see you in the chat room saying a lot of important things. Mike V, if you want to come up, I specifically want people who have either worked in tech industry or have some strong understanding and knowledge of it. So Mike V, if you want to come up, because I know that you are a brother who talks about tech and what's going on in these industries, I've got a link that I just put in there specifically for you to come on upstairs and join us if you choose to do so. We got my man Keith. Keith is in the house. My man, we got 12 Veils, who's definitely kicked off some thoughts in the chat room about what's going on. We got Over 50 and Fabulous. Let me see. Okay, Mike V's coming upstairs. We got somebody else came in. Xavier Owens came in and he said this: what role should black church and black fraternities and sororities and black barbershops? This is a very good question, in my opinion. And black barbershops and black artists, to name a few, play in the paradigm shift? Are you saying that in terms of us going into the tech? Because we want to keep it on topic. Are you saying that in terms of what the role they can play in encouraging us to go into these technological fields? Because I can tell you from personal experience that I know that a lot of the black fraternities and sororities, I know my organization, Alpha Phi Alpha, we talk about these things. We push this. We promote this. We give out scholarships to youth, girls and boys, who want to go to college, and we encourage those who have technical skills. We have programs where we bring brothers out who have these technical skills, and we let kids, just like we said earlier with Identity Withheld, a lot of times you got to see people that look like you to know that it's a possibility for you. So we let them see black doctors. We let them see black brothers that are in technical fields so that we can encourage them. And we pair the kids with these brothers to mentor them and follow them through their years. We have chapters and various alumni chapters all across the country where we do this kind of work. So that's very important. That's one way that I'm telling you that I know that it can be done. Let me stop right there and bring, if any brothers want to add to this part of the conversation, or you want to add something else, go right ahead while I bring Mike V into the panel. Go right ahead. Anybody
Okay.
who wants, Ray, you want to say something?
I did
Go right
want to say
ahead.
something real quick on that as well.
Mhm.
Even the images, remember how when the Cosby Show was on, a lot of people applied to medical school, dental school. They were inspired by that.
Yes.
I wonder if we got some blacks in Hollywood who might have some type of debonair engineer or information technologist who would be, showing how he got out of difficulties by using his brains. There was a show way back, I think it was called MacGyver, how this guy used to
I remember
always get out of trouble by doing something technical. So
Yeah.
maybe some of those artists in Hollywood can put a thing together, because a cartoon, all those things inspire these kids, and we've got to use
Yeah.
all avenues that we can, because we can't let this generation miss this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I would,
Go ahead,
I'm
Identity.
sorry.
No,
Yeah,
go ahead.
I wanted to add on the idea of like this space has so many chapters to it,
Mm-hmm.
that um so for me, just getting into the space wasn't enough, because I'm just trying to evolve as best I can. So I started looking into things like alternative energies, right? Now
Right.
that's a trigger word for some people, right? But again, it's a tech space. It's a tech space. You if you figure out some material engineers out there are right now researching, in the event that the shortage is really hurting our industries, what are some alternatives? right? We have to come up with some level of alternatives. So now there's this mad push. It's been for the last couple of years though, throwing money at people with ideas, just ideas. If you know enough about materials, right? Materials engineering, you can come up with a concept. It may not even work, but they'll pay you just to even flesh out the details to see if it works. Because the we have to have some safety net in the event
Hmm.
that the shortage becomes so detrimental to our industries that things start shutting down other than just a PlayStation company, right? Like that's gaming, right? But
Right.
when you start affecting other companies that are like the backbone of our society and they start seeing a shortage, yeah, we don't want to get to that point. So we have in this space a ton of money getting thrown by the government, whoever else wants to be the first to come up with that material that's, hey, carbon may
Hmm.
not be the thing or silicon may not be the thing, let's try this and this might work and that. So that's a whole nother avenue. Again, we would have to first know that it exists before we even think to come up with alternatives. So just the information alone is huge. It's
Hmm.
huge.
Hmm. Let me just say this. Let me say peace to Liz Lopez. Lopez is in the house, fashionable for life. We got Liberto Morales, who's Mason. He made a statement saying that what we need is knowledge, not education. But I always thought that um, part of gaining knowledge is when you're able. There's many ways you can educate yourself. There's
Yeah.
people who didn't go to college, but they read books, and they're
Yes.
and so when we talk about education, we're talking about that's another form, in my opinion. He made a good point, but I think still educating yourself is still another way to empower yourself because part of being knowledgeable is knowing, and you must be a person who is seeking truth, who wants to seek how you're looking at how to produce as men. Let's just say it this way: as men, we are built in a way to solve problems. And I look at this industry as like you're trying to solve a problem through creating these microchips, right? To solve problems, to take leadership, to think outside of the box and
Yep.
not inside the box. That's just my little personal talking there.
No, you hit the nail on the head. That they will pay you top dollar if you
Hmm.
come up with ways we never thought of.
Right.
Right?
I mean,
That
you
that
got
is a that is
quantum.
huge.
Let me ask Brother Mike this. He's on the panel. The quantum computing. Look at what's going on with that industry. They want to take it to a whole nother level.
Yeah.
And that requires microchips.
Well,
You
not
can't avoid it.
exactly. Well, not exactly microchips, because oh, piece of the panel, piece of the chat. Thank you for having me
Oh,
on,
peace to you,
Information
brother.
Man.
Come on in and explain that to us.
Yeah, that's not a microchip. That's a whole entire, different sort of system altogether that uses vacuum tubes and whatnot. That's
Hmm.
not even a microchip. It's a whole entire
Okay.
system. And
Okay, I stand
so,
corrected.
yeah, so it's a little bit different than that. But you're in the right ballpark of
Okay.
where it needs to be.
Hmm.
But catching up with the discussion
Hmm.
about your topic so far, I think it's a good topic to really discuss the stuff that we've been discussing on the Black Brain Trust for the last few
That's
years.
right. The Black Brain Trust, everybody. Check out the Black Brain Trust, everybody. Check out that channel. Great channel.
Yep, ad nauseum. We've discussed it week in, week out. On Saturdays, I used to run a mentorship, for Tech Talk on the weekends. Every
Hmm.
Saturday morning, we used to run Tech
Hmm.
Talk, and so this is the sort of area that Black people need to be in. But to your overarching point, how do we
Hmm.
get there? There
Hmm.
has to be a pipeline that goes from kindergarten all the way up to post-secondary education. And
Mm.
those sort of tracks are far few in between, but I'm a part of NISB as well, or at least I
Mm.
was prior to the pandemic, where they have what they call PCI, Pre-College Initiative, K through 12. We take those kids all the way up into 12th grade and then all the way up to post-secondary education and steer them into the right track, basically a pipeline for STEM. And you have up to 95, 99% matriculation in that program. And so we know that this actually works. It's about how do you get federal dollars channeled into that. The infrastructure bill that's being debated right now, when it first started off, it actually had all of the language in there to do exactly what we're talking about right now. But the people on the other side, the palm colored people, were the ones arguing against it. They did not want that sort of language in there about Black people and putting money into community colleges and building up infrastructure that's going to be necessary, because the idea here is for America to compete with China, but it's already too late. China has already blown America out of the waters, for the lack of a better description. By 2030, they're expected to actually surpass the United States in terms of global power from a GDP standpoint. So we're already too far behind nation-wise, and Black people are not even on the radar when it comes to the scientists or coming out of the STEM industry. 2 out of 3 of your scientists in the next 10 years are going to come out of Asia, Southeast Asia.
And so they ultimately will dominate. And we were reading earlier that it's like 3% of us that are even in the industry in terms of Black males representation and Black people just in general. But the question is anybody can answer this question. I think someone asked that good question. It's going to take the mentoring. It's going to take a changing of our ideology, the way we see education, way we see knowledge. And I had said earlier, brother Mike V, that if you look at Black people as a community, we've always been encouraged, if I'm correct, to go into the arts and go into the humanity courses. So you'll see Black people going into these kind of courses that are not really tech related, because at some point in time, that's what you do. Go into sociology, go into psychology,
the soft
not to put those fields down, but there's certain things that you do tend to see our people go into and gravitate towards in higher numbers than we do the technical, like whether it be engineering, mechanical engineering, the different sciences. We are in those fields, but we're in those fields in very little numbers. And I don't think it's because we don't have the intellect to do it. I just don't think it goes back to what we said earlier. We need more Black men like yourself to introduce that to young people. Young people need to be introduced these sort of things. It should be as normal. I hate to say this, but I got to say this. It should be as normal as we putting a damn basketball or football or something like that in the hands of a young male child, right?
So to answer your question, a lot of this started 35 plus years ago when the Reagan administration gutted the social programs that helped alleviate Black people out of poverty and put them into these vocational programs so that they could be competitive in these areas. And so we haven't really recovered since that. Compound that with the crack epidemic and these drug laws, the Black community went through a whirlwind and a calamity of issues. And so we're trying to recover from that by actually putting more focus on, STEM now. There's a lot of code camps and stuff like that in the Black community now in the last few years, probably since even more since George Floyd has passed. A lot of your big Silicon Valley companies have put up big pledges of millions of dollars saying that they're going to do this, this, and that. We haven't really seen all of that really come to fruition. But I would say Apple and Google has probably been the most instrumental what they did in Atlanta with that, with that investment into Black tech in Atlanta. And Google has reached out to the HBCUs and have partnered with them. So we know that there's some things being done, but you need government to actually step in and play a significant role, because government is the catalyst behind all things innovative when it comes to industrialization. We wouldn't have moon missions and things like that unless you had NASA and you had the government putting money into NASA. You wouldn't have deep sea diving and going to the bottom of the ocean without government putting money behind things like that. And so we have to make the case that spending $70,000 on nonviolent offenders and only spending $25,000 on K through 12 students is insane.
Well, I hate to bring this up. It seems to me that we tend to put a lot of attention, and this is no shade to anybody. We tend to it appears that we put a lot of attention on guys who have criminal records, and when they come home and get out of prison, and they go into we tend to celebrate the triumph of someone who did time in prison and had a rough background. But then we have black young people who didn't go to jail, who didn't get a criminal record, didn't do all of that kind of stuff, that's doing stuff, and they don't seem to be as, I'm generalizing here, as celebrated as the dude who was the drug dealer turned now tech guy. You see what I'm saying? We celebrate guys like that, our ladies, but what about putting up on a pedestal young people in our community who do the damn right thing? They don't have no criminal record. They didn't get themselves caught up in something where you have to have some preacher or somebody counseling them to get them on the good, right, and arrow. Let me just say this real quick because I want to be respectful to people in the chat room. Let me read what Jackie said. Jackie said this: I'm going to research and see if we can write a grant for SC chip training in the community center level, underserving area needed. I want to talk about that, about the grant writing. Then there's a guy in here, Atavius Prime, who said that he's already in school right now. Peace to him. Let me put what he said up here. He said, information man, I'm currently in college for computer science. That's a good thing, brother. All right. Give you a clap for that.
Yes.
Sheldon just super chatted me saying, great conversation, information man. Peace to you in the chat. Happy Halloween. And thank you for the, we got, and I want to say to all the mods in there, you guys are doing a fantastic job with telling people to like, but most important than all of that, you're putting in there the information about the Afro Tech that I brought up, about the dates that are coming up this upcoming November, tomorrow. And I want to thank everybody for coming over. We got my man from Bazaar Foods, who just came in the house. Information Man Show and everybody in the chat, thank you for coming over. We got my man Craig R. We got Lopez is in the house. That's here. We got Brother Keith. What's going on, Johnson? Tim Black Show. We're fixtures over there on his Wolfpack movement. We got Chris CCC. She's a mod from over brother Pascal, and he will be on the show, folks. Pascal will be here, and we'll get into some conversation with that brother. But she's a mod over there as well. And thank you, Chris CCC. I thank you for coming over. Black Voltron. I love that name. You gotta definitely trademark that name immediately. I keep telling you this. We got Angelica saying, speak on it, information man. I love me some Angelica. She's great in there in the chat room. Xavier Owens. We got RY that's coming in strong here, and a lot of good people. I just wanted to acknowledge people because we're talking. And we got Kiki05 in the house. Thank you for being here, Kiki. Real Aaron Collins. I just want to make sure I acknowledge people that are in the chat, taking of their time listening to us talk about this issue. Jackie brought up a good point. What about grants? Is anybody familiar about how? I understand what a grant is, what exactly a grant is, but before we even get to grants, we just need to, at the end of the day, we've got to introduce our kids to the science and technology at an early age so that it becomes just as normal to them as watching cartoons on Saturday morning or getting on their bicycle or something like that.
Information man, if I can jump in real quick.
Yes, sir. I want you to jump in.
Yeah, there's a few documentaries that highlight that Singapore, Japan, China, they start investing at the toddler age.
Wow.
So they're already 18 years ahead of, if you want to just use black people as an example. You can use America as an example too, but for black children, they're already 18 years behind. And so we have to change the dynamic of the conversation to be around the 369 model or the 36912 model, which is no tech before 3 years old, literacy at 6 years old, and at 9 years old, I forget the other aspect to it, but then you don't give them tech until 9 to 12.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so that model is what they're using to actually engage, their constituents. But I also want to make sure that it's understood that the literacy rates for Black boys is much significantly lower than everybody else in the United States or in the West for the sake of conversation. Because when you're talking about going into manufacturing and semiconductor industries, you're talking about a high level, a high degree of literacy that has to be the minimum before you even go into that. And because we are at the bottom with the literacy rates, that becomes the the obstacle for trying to get them in there. So that part of the conversation needs to be had as well.
Okay.
I agree.
Wow. I agree. Um, Ray Alexander, Earl Owens, identity withheld. Anything that you would like to add to the discussion? Anything that we may have not touched on that we've forgotten?
Yeah, I
I
wanted
would
to.
go for it,
I'm
Earl.
sorry.
Go ahead, man.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I wanted to kind of go back when we were talking about I guess the ignorance of some, and please don't take that as a derogatory term towards not knowing. Just means not knowing. You just don't know it exists. Um, when I decided to make my shift to more tech space, heavy tech space, the most resistance I got was from my people,
Mm-hmm.
and I had to figure out that they couldn't see what I could see, and I had to keep pushing forward. Now, that was hard because I had to ignore some of the people who were saying, "Look, just get a job." And it's like, but it's bigger in my head. I'm thinking it's bigger than that though. Right? I mean, I'm not just doing it for me and I'm just chasing money I mean, trust me, you get in the right space, money will not be a problem. It kind of comes with the territory,
Mm-hmm.
especially the deeper you go. So money is not something that I think a lot of people should probably focus on when entering because it'll be there. So the question then would be, is this something you can see yourself doing in 30 years, 20, 30 years, right? If this is going to be a career, because this is not a flash in the pan. But the thing is too, once you're in it, you got to keep learning. There is no
Right.
stopping. You will be outdated within 5 years if you stay stagnant. So you
You're
have
true
to
because I
keep
know
evolving.
I know in my work we have to continue CEUs, continue education training, or you lose because I have to re-up my certifications and things of that nature, or you'll be out of date and you'll be out of the door.
Yeah.
So
I
you got
mean,
to
look
stay
how
on
fast
top
an
of it.
iPhone goes out of style, right? Like they come
Mm-hmm.
out with an iPhone every what 2, 3, 4 years. Yeah, I mean, if you're 2, 3, 4 iPhones back, you're out of date. Like and that's how fast things are moving, and there is no stopping. So once you accept that there really isn't a stop point, you just got to keep evolving until you really retire. But if that's where if you can see yourself doing that, trust me, it's not as hard as you would imagine it to be if you already have that in you. It'll be a little tougher if you kind of hate the grind,
Mm-hmm.
so to speak. But if trust me, it's like one of those things when you go through it and you get your eyes are open to it and you're like, damn, if I only knew this beforehand, things would be so much different. So like I said, I hope I'm opening up the eyes of somebody out there listening.
Mm-hmm. Oh, most certainly. Most certainly. Ray, you wanted to say something, or Earl
Yeah, I
Owens?
did want to add something on that too. I think that also we have to have faith in ourselves and believe in ourselves as well. I think there have been some problems that our ancestors were literally enslaved, and at the time, the 252 years that they were enslaved, there were people who believed that they were free. During Jim Crow, which could have been a lifestyle now, but there were people that believed that we could overcome that. And I don't think that we should be counting the United States out. We are 24% of the world economy. We have the greatest overseas investment throughout sovereign wealth funds throughout the world that invest here. More people want to come here and build their lives. We're revitalizing a lot of areas in the United States, and we have to use our political power as Black Americans to make sure that we are being a part of that. We have to deal with literacy. We have to deal with the academics in mathematics, science, and all of those things. But we have more resources here available to us because of our political power, even though people are than any other Black people globally. And the United States right now is still asserting its, even with the president that is elderly, combining with Japan, India, the new Australia, Britain, and U.S. acts, also with the Quad, which is Japan, India, Australia, and the U.S. A lot of the alliances are coming together, but our military still is outstanding. It is to peace keeper for the world. It provides against tyranny. So I think that a nihilistic worldview that the United States is not good. But if you don't have faith that the United States is going to be the winner, that it's going to continue to defend the free world, and you want to be under a communist dictatorship, then I think people have to think about where they want to live, if they want to go ahead and ally with a communist dictatorship and be at the bottom of that. But I believe that the best days for the United States are still ahead, that we will be doing the types of things over time to ensure that, and the innovation is still coming out of here. These other nations are they're copying us or copying the West, but they're not overseeing that. And now that we have Japan strictly as an ally, and I think that we have to be careful of basically bashing America, bashing Black Americans, and saying that there's no hope, because once people are convinced that there's no hope, they're not going to make any types of adjustments to move forward on that. And I do want us to be conscientious of those types of things.
Very
So
good
if I
point.
can rebut, this talking point that Ray has brought out, all of your strong economists globally have acknowledged that China is going to surpass the United States in 10 years.
Okay.
This is not,
Could you
a folk tale.
identify those economists that have said that?
You can look up economists.
Can you
Dr.
specifically identify that? Because I'm not interested in getting an argument with you, but if you'll identify the specific argument, the economists as well as the white paper that has stated that, then that could be a statement. But when you are nihilistic and down, and because people have looked at China's economy as not as viable as the paper tiger that is showing itself to be, they have a third of their population that are elderly that needs to be taken care of. Their army has not been tested. There's
So
a lot of
if you can allow me to speak,
But
if
yeah,
you
go
can,
ahead.
if
Yeah,
you can allow
go
me to
ahead.
speak. Dr. Richard Wolff on YouTube, who has a YouTube channel called Democracy at Work, has acknowledged this for the last 30 plus years. Dr. Stephen Cohen, who died last year, has acknowledged that the United States economically it cannot sustain itself over the next decade. He has passed away now
Right.
of COVID.
But isn't
So
Dr. Richard Wolff a radical socialist who wants to see the United
it doesn't
States
matter
grow?
what he
It does
is.
matter
It does
because
I
that's
don't want to argue on
propaganda rather
information
than.
man's.
But see,
I don't
but
want to
also,
argue on
Mike, let
information
me ask you
man's
this as
panel. I
well,
want to
please. Let me ask you
preside.
this as well, Mike. We came on this show to establish a platform to encourage people to get into technology, not to beat up on Black Americans, not to beat up on America. But I mean, I understand that there's going to be perspectives, but that tends to come out even when you were at the Black Brain Trust. There was a constant bashing of Black Americans. There was a constant bashing of the United States, which is kind of unusual since people come here. And since you've come here as well and you reside here,
I didn't come
it's
here.
one thing is you were born in the United States?
Yes, I was.
Okay, but your parents came here from Barbados for better opportunities for you to have here. So what I'm saying is that if
They came from
people
London.
they came from London, or your people initially from before they went to London, were they from Barbados? Because you mentioned that at one time.
Yeah, grandparents
So if we
served
talk-
grandparents served in World War II and also became a part of the Windrush Act, which then
Okay,
sent them
yeah.
over here. So I want to make that
Okay,
clear.
went to London with the Windrush Act, and then they came over here. So your people went to the United Kingdom and then came to the United States. And those are great things. But what we're saying is that you're residing here, and a constant theme of the Black blame thrust was Black Americans are not going to make it. America's not going to make it. If that's a contradiction, why remain here? Why not ally with the communist dictatorship and be a part of them rather than to try to encourage the people? Because the people at the top are doing the things that they need to do. There's been a transformation economically in certain strata, but MIT, our military institutions, all of those things are grand. And Richard Wolff is basically a radical propagandist, a socialist who hates America.
Let me
So
know
what
when
do
I
you
can
take
speak.
on that? Yeah.
Let
Go
me
ahead.
know when I can
All
speak.
right.
So the reason why I brought that up is because the numbers are not there for Black people. They're not even on the map when it comes to that. So it's important for people to understand that how we even got to this point and where it's going from here. So if you're saying that 2/3 of the world's scientists are coming out of Southeast Asia and Black people don't even make up less than 1%,
And
The
that would include
conversation
Black people in Africa and Black people in the Caribbean as
that will
well.
include that will
And so
include
the
black
whole,
people.
but who is
Yeah, I
investing in
can't
those?
have a conversation if you keep talking over me.
Let's
I
do
want to
this,
make sure.
gentlemen.
I just want to make sure
Let's do
that
this,
we're
gentlemen.
speaking fast.
Let's just, Mike V,
Yeah.
finish what you're trying to say. Let's just do it like this. Come on now. We're gentlemen. We're men here.
Yeah.
Mike V, make your statements, not to tell you what to do, brother, but make your statements. And then if Ray wants to rebut what you say, then he can rebut, and then you can, rebut back, what have you. Let's just do it like that. Let's not bring any personal feelings or things like that into it. I don't want it to turn into an argument. Let's be respectful. We all have different views, whether you think, if the guy is radical. We got a lot of radical stuff going on in this country.
Yeah,
So
I just wanted
you
to
can
make
define
sure.
that in all different ways, but let's just have the conversation. So go ahead, Mike V, and then Ray, you're more than willing, you're more than happy if you want to rebut anything that you may disagree with. Let's just do it respectfully, like
Yeah.
men.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I rebut with actually what's going on, because I work in tech, right? I'm
Right.
part of
Right. That's the reason why I wanted you on the panel, because it brings richness to the discussion with people who actually have the experience versus, not.
Yeah, right. So to the original opening point that you have, most of your tech organizations coming out of Silicon Valley and otherwise make up, Black people make up less than 10% of the industry as a whole. And so the idea here is to actually drive more Black people into the space. But if we have a issue with literacy at the K through 12 level, you're going to have a bigger issue on your hands than just getting people into tech. And so NISB has done a great job at channeling a lot of your K through 12 into tech. However, you have to make this thing scale, and government is the only way that can actually scale, because they're the catalyst for this. Now, to the next point that I was making was that China has already accelerated this process, and so we're actually competing against other nations within the nation itself. So that part has to be realized, that we're not even 1%. So we have to start focusing on getting the jobs, which is what we focus on in the Black Brain Trust, to actually owning industry. When TSMC started off, they started off as an idea of owning the manufacturing process for semiconductors as a whole. That was the goal. And they were very successful in doing that. And their government got behind them in doing something like that. So we have to actually have a conversation with our elected officials about doing something, not the CBC, because the CBC already has a tech division. The Congressional Black Caucus has a tech division, and they put it out in their report every single year. You can download it on their website. They have a YouTube channel that also describes all of their activities and involvement in the IT space. Maxine Waters went to Silicon Valley and asked, why aren't there more Black people in your workspaces? And so the CBC has been instrumental in trying to move the ball. And so I just want to make sure that we're clear on these issues, and not actually throwing it out there as someone who actually works in the tech industry as a cybersecurity professional, as well as someone who came from the electronic side. I dropped out in high school and got my GED, and then went to vocational schools, and then transferred my credits from there and went to undergrad, and then did my master's. So,
Okay.
So that
Will you finish making your point on that? Yeah, all I'm saying, I agree with you. That's what we talked when we began the conversation, Mike V. We talked about the United States Innovation and Competition Act, which is a $252 billion proposal that's already passed the Senate. Also, the Fabs Act, which for fabrication to building those in there, and the CHIPS Act. Those were the three things that we talked about. And I also hear where you're coming from, and we've talked about the importance of being with the congressional and state legislative. But what I'm concerned about each time, even in because I've contributed to what you've done in the Black Brain Trust, there's this black hand slap against Black Americans, when Black Americans, although we are shortage, we are still the most educated group of Blacks globally. You do have less than 1/10 of 1% of Africans that come over here to study. They do fabulously. But right now, Nigeria as a country is identified as the poverty capital of the world. Right now, we have the G20 meeting, and it's not Nigeria that's there, it is South Africa. And that's because of the 5 million predominantly white-owned businesses that run that industrialized country, and Standard Bank, which is the largest bank in Africa, which is larger than all of the banks in Nigeria combined. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to reach out and do an olive branch to you now, brother. Let's speak as brothers, and instead of continually trying to slap Black Americans for what we quote aren't doing. We were still the population that was enslaved here for 252 years. We were the population that fought to get that. We were the population that fought in World War II to open up doors for a lot of other people. And even when people were xenophobic, it was Booker T. Washington that stood up for allowing Africans to come to the United States. When there was all these things against Haiti, it was Jesse Jackson and what we call it, Trans Africa, a U.S.-based group that was fighting for them as well as South Africa and opportunities and investments in Africa. So what I'm doing is asking you, when you talk about it from a diplomatic standpoint, saying that these young boys are not where they need to be, we understand that. Africa, sub-Saharan Africa as a subcontinent is not anywhere near it needs to be. Less than 10% of the people in sub-Saharan Africa are high school graduates. Nigeria as the nation is abusively corrupt. They cannot count. They're going through their oil money. They will be out of oil and natural gas in the next 40 years. So I'm reaching out to you, man, because this is why I specifically came on Information Man Show, because he is more of a diplomat. We can talk about this, but if you're going to trash our people out, if you don't believe in the United States, I'm understanding, well, why do you not move to China and go through their system and become an officer in the Red Army and be a part of that, since you're saying that's going to be the winning team?
Because I don't actually downplay Black Americans. If you look at the Black Brain Trust, I have been diligent in driving Black Americans into STEM careers for the last 3 years. And so these accusations don't really hold any water or any weight. My track record and the track record is impeccable over there. Now, in terms of Africa, we know that Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Twitter, Jack Dorsey has been very vocal about what he sees on the continent as a high growth market over the next 10 years. He understands this. All of your tech and venture capital has exploded the last 24 months. And so I can't understand how we can downplay Black people in the diaspora as being corrupt and all these other things. Well, we have corruption within our own system that allocates money to Jewish states, so to speak, for billions of dollars, but will turn back and look at African Americans at HBCUs and say your rodent-infested areas don't need any more money.
Well,
I think that part has to be understood, that the United States is doing this to its own people. Not,
of course, I apologize. I'm going to let you finish speaking.
Right.
I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, and I don't want to make this long-winded. I want to make sure that we're understood that we have to collectivize our battle. We can't put the blame on the CBC or somebody else. Our elected officials, whether it's Maxine Waters, Cory Booker, Tim Scott in South Carolina, the pressure has to be put on these people to go to Washington and fight for those dollars that needs to be transferred and supplemented to HBCUs, K through 12 areas that have been largely disenfranchised due to drug laws and lack of infrastructure investment. That is where the conversation starts with me, and not with Africans or Chinese people or anything else like that.
Now, were you finished? Because I want to let you continue to make. I'm with you on that. I verbalized. I said I'm extending an olive branch so that we can come together and work together. But when your statements completely trash Black Americans as ineffective or as corrupt, and we look at dysfunctional African countries that cannot feed themselves, that cannot defend themselves, none are self-sufficient in energy production. I requested this of information man because he's a very fair-minded individual. I don't have anything personal against you, Mike V, but I want us to, when we come on these platforms, to be fair, because from the things that I saw happening in the Black Plains Trust was a constant bashing of Black Americans, and also NSBE, the National Society of Black Engineers, was started for brothers from the United States. So I'm reaching out to you. I'm gonna say this again because I don't want us to argue this. I was hoping that this wouldn't come on a tangent, but you came in and talked about China. You came in and started trashing the United States, and I don't want to go that direction. We live here. We've invested a lot here. We want the future of the United States to be good. If you feel that it is not the right place for you, or do you want the United States to fall or whatever, or Black people to be at the bottom or whatever, that's your prerogative on that. But if you want us to be friends and allies to work together, then when you are articulating those things, you are talking about the crack epidemic, the lack of investment in public schools and things like that. Those are the types of things I would hear as well. But just saying that Black boys aren't this or Black Americans aren't this is something that is hurtful to hear from someone calling himself a friend. And you're living in the United States. You were born here. Your parents and grandparents and whoever, your lineage has felt that this was a place to come for a good life. And you have participated. So where are we coming from? Are we trying to be friends and allies? Because I'm trying to extend an olive branch so that we can work together as friends on these platforms without this constant bashing of Black Americans. And that's how I see that when you say those types of things.
So I want to make sure we're clear on time and that we're not overly occupying Information Man Show's time. So before I get out of here, I want to provide a solution because he talked about grants. And to your question, Information Man, about grants and how we can actually channel more funds into these areas, one of the biggest challenges for us to compete with Silicon Valley in these predominantly Black areas is infrastructure. Brick and mortar infrastructure is really important. One of the biggest pieces of free infrastructure that we have is public spaces, libraries. Libraries in Black communities are ubiquitous. They're already built, already paid for, and already owned by the city and the municipality and the state itself. So those places are not going to go anywhere anytime soon. But the real question is, how do you repurpose those social spaces so that we can actually leverage the infrastructure so that we can best utilize it for creating tech out of it, and so that we own it as a community? And so the dollars that get funded for basketball courts and football fields at millions of dollars, a basketball court can cost $1 million, a football field can cost up to $10 million, a playground can cost $500,000. These sort of monies that are allocated for these sort of social, I guess, infrastructure that is put in Black neighborhoods typically is not discussed with the stakeholders of the community, which are Black people itself. So we have to, if we're talking about grant money, not just grant money, but actually taking the public spending and putting it into a coffers, a community trust that can actually be leveraged for investing into Black tech startups in these public libraries, these public spaces that we already have established, and so that we can accelerate the process pretty quickly.
Now, my response to that, I'm going to say I do want to extend the hand, the olive branch of friendship to you so that we can work together. That is the Charles Flow's Black Power Manifesto, where he talks about us relocating strategically to the 9 states with the largest Black populations to take over the governorships and senates so that we can use those public funds that come from the federal level to address those needs. And once you have those 9 senators and governors that can manage that, they'll have more leverage. Right now, we are in control of local levels. And so a lot of the federal funds that could do those things are not there. Even when President Obama put a lot of money into some of the states like Louisiana, the states took that money that was for poverty release and redevelopment of those school systems. They put it in other areas because you had other parties in government. So it's a long-term strategy. So I'm hoping that by reaching out to you, the olive branch of friendship, that we will be able to move forward on that. And that's where I'm coming from. So it's a long-term strategy that we will have to take political power at the state level. We'll have to utilize that political power at the state level to utilize our strengths at the federal level. And those are the types of things that we can invest in the type of HBCUs as we should. Some states, like the state of Texas, are relatively a rich state, and Prairie View A&M University in Texas is a relatively well-off college. They've built over $200 million worth of facilities. There's actually a fabrication center on campus. They're one of the largest producers of Black computer scientists, engineers, and architects in the U.S. And if you Google them, there's a story on them about what's happening right now. So, Mike, that's all I was saying. So, if I reacted in a way that was not appropriate, I do apologize, because I do want to have you as a brother that's working together for the empowerment of our people. And I just hope that I'm extending the olive branch of friendship, and I hope that you are receptive to that, and that we can work together.
So
All right.
Mike and Ray, I'm an outsider looking in on this conversation, and I feel like you both are in the same building, but you're screaming from different floors.
Mhm.
Like I get both of what you guys are trying to, what your point is. My question would be, not to debate, but more of a constructive question would be whether or not number one is the target. We would still have to compete, and we would have to compete on the the US level. I mean, down to just being in people of color just trying to come up. There's so many things that we have to attack as far as bringing up as a collective. So I understand that US may be outseeded in some number of years, this, that, and the other. The point in my world is the the tech world is still going to move, it's still going to grow, it's still going to be whatever it's going to be. We need to get a piece of it regardless. If it's number 3, who gives a damn? Like that's what I'm feeling inside when I'm hearing this discussion, but
Right.
I do hear the pain in knowing some of the facts, right?
Right.
And it hurts to hear some of that, but what do we do with that? But I think you
Uh,
guys are hitting good points.
Well,
I'll tell you what.
I'm
Go
sorry,
ahead,
Mr.
Mike
Andrew.
V.
No, I was just going to say the reason why I bring this up, because you're in the global economy. Global economies matter. We saw that during the pandemic. When one area was impacted, all other areas were impacted. And so if we don't look at this from a global landscape, we're gonna sell a falsehood to a lot of people that you can do such and such and such and such, but that's not actually true. We see that happening right now. Silicon Valley supposedly has a problem with diversity, inclusion, and equity. That's been a big discussion since George Floyd has been killed. And so, but why is that the case, right?
Well,
Yeah, go ahead,
I
brother.
live in California. They've been outsourcing people from East India and other parts of the world because, once again, for people who keep thinking that, oh, this is a conspiracy, because there's been a shortage of people here in the States who have the skills, and we don't have a lot of Black people in Silicon Valley in California who are in a position to be able to compete for those jobs. And on top of that, they can go and get those folks from another country and pay them less money than what they would have to pay a qualified, in this case, Black person who has those skills a lot. And then there's racism going on in Silicon Valley, where Black people that are qualified are not being hired for the jobs and given opportunity. That's also happening. That is also a component here. But let me just take center stage and just say this to everybody that's listening. And let me just do this here. Everybody's on the board with me. I think, gentlemen, you had a discussion, and I think, and both of you said things that were based in reality and facts. But at the end of the day, and I think you've already have said this, we still does not negate the fact that we still have to prepare our young people for the future. And I did a video a long time ago about, are Black people prepared for the future, a long time ago. And let me just say this. This is why I brought up Afrotech. Even though we don't have the high numbers, do not underestimate this new generation that's coming behind us. Because from what I've seen looking at Afrotech, there are young Black people out there, men and young ladies, who are dynamic and they are moving into the tech industry and they're moving forward. And the industries are recognizing that there are Black people who have the skills. So let's encourage those who have the skills. Let's encourage the Afro tech. Let's let people know about it. And let's also do this. You say, well, how do we do this? I said early on, it comes down to mentorship. I'm a member of an organization that's over 100 years old. We already doing this kind of work where we're identifying kids, young people in the school system who have an affinity for those skills, or we introduce it to them and we pair them up and we bring in Black men in particular who are working in the industry so that they can see someone that looks like them. And then we mentor them through school. We put them in the right direction. We gear them towards a college education because that's what my organization was founded on. It was founded at a university, Cornell University, 1906. And so we gear them towards that particular level of education and preparing them. And while they're preparing and going into school, as we put out scholarship money towards them, investing in them, we mentor them along the way so that they can matriculate through the system, because getting into college is no longer the problem for us. It's matriculating through the system. Many people go to school and then eventually at some point in time, due to money, all kind of things, finances, they may drop out of school and never go back to school. So it's about matriculating through the system. And I think that's what we have to do. Mike V or someone on the panel said that when you look at the Asian population, they've got their kids being trained right at the time that they're little kids. We need to be doing that, right? We need to be introducing our kids to science. I made this point and I wasn't trying to be funny, but it's just a sad truth that we are I'm not accusing anybody on the panel, but we are so in general innate at being able to put a basketball or a football in the hands, in this case, our boys. And we'll rally around them going into sports and getting drafted, and we get all excited. And then we'll rally around people who got a criminal background and we'll celebrate them when they triumph. How about we put the same energy into our kids as fathers, as a family structure, when it comes to science, as much as we do when we put a football in their hand or we tell them to go into some type of humanity arts type of field. Those are not bad fields, but I think we need to be more prepared for the future. Now, when we talk about America and Africa as a continent on those different countries in the continent, it has its ills and it has its positives. Africa didn't get the way it got by accident. It comes from years of colonialism that destroyed the continent. When you talk about corruption, you can always find I'm keeping it real. You can always find Europeans and colonialism that has its roots in whatever corruption you see in the continent. Then when we look at America, we certainly have our problems in America. We got corrupt politicians in America. We got corrupt Black politicians that are not doing anything for us. And you said it earlier. Someone said it earlier. And I think I might have said it too. Why is it that the Black Congressional Caucus is not talking about this more? Why is it? Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they are. Somebody correct me. If I stand corrected, I stand corrected. But why are they not talking about it? So even though we can point fingers at the continent, the global world, Black people in America, at the end of the day, what in the hell are we doing? We have to look at ourselves in the mirror and be accountable for what we're doing. I've been saying this a long time ago. Black people, we have to be global in our thinking. We got Black people on social media that all they want to talk about is that we are native to North America. God damn it, we're native to the whole planet, not just one place. You're not going to limit me to just one place when we are global people. We always have been. So we do have to have a global mindset because economically in industry is becoming global. It's becoming bigger than just the United States. The United States is not the be all, the end all in the whole world of industry. That's why you've got companies leaving this country, outsourcing, going to other places, because of course it's very expensive to run your companies here. But now you've got companies trying to come back to the United States, particularly in Arizona, as Ray Alexander was speaking of, where they're trying to put a new microchip semiconducting company in Arizona. And they're undermanned right now. Let me put this back in here to put some perspective on this. Again, I want to thank everybody that's here today. Let's go right up here. Ray, what was it? Let's go right here again. So there's currently 600,000 unfilled jobs in technology field. The United States Department of Labor policies that predicted that this number will nearly double in the coming years. What does that mean? That means that not just black people are not getting involved in this industry, but that would mean that you got even other races of people, white people as well, in America, which is why you see countries like China now dominating, because we have a shortage of people in America. And plus, they've been outsourcing as well. So that says that we have a chance as a people, not through our youth and through our kids, to get them prepared, but to potentially go into these professions in going into the future. I also put up here, what was it, Ray? 2025, right? By 2025, there will be approximately 3.5 million STEM jobs across the United States that need to be filled. Of these, 3.5 million to 2 million will not be filled due to a lack of qualified candidates. We need to get out of our differences, and goddamn it, we need to get our kids qualified. So that means we got to introduce it to them at an early age. We got to get to them, whether it be preschool age, elementary age, high school, whatever we got to do it. What I've learned in my experience, because I have a background in working with kids, mentoring within my organization, a lot of these kids want to learn, but a lot of times they don't have enough people, men in particular, who are dedicated enough to work with them. I know as a man, you are responsible for your family, for your kids first. But if you have time to do that work, do it. If you don't have the time, how about you take a little bit of money out of your wallet and support an organization that is willing to do the work that you don't have time to do physically, but you can promote, or you can promote a organization. Everybody on this panel should know who George Maycomb is. George Maycomb has the Urban Nerds Worldwide. I got to get him back on here and interview him about Urban Nerds Worldwide. What is he doing? He's working with young people in his community in Philadelphia. He's getting them out of their community. He's introducing them to science. They're talking science, technology, STEM, the whole 9 yard. You got Brother Q Butter in New York, who has an educational institute where he's got STEM that he's teaching the kids in his institute. So guess what? There are those of us out here that are doing the work and that are doing this, and those kids will be transformed they'll be prepared for the future. If they choose to go into this field, they will already have an understanding of it. That's what we need to be focusing on most, not our differences, not the debates, because that don't put the bacon in the bread and the potatoes and the meat on the table. We can talk till we're blue in the face about the differences, but the problem of the matter is both the Africans in the continent of Africa and black people in America, we have all been a victim of racism. You can call it white supremacy, oppression, whatever. But you guess what? Even though we got that in our stumbling blocks, don't let it hold us back. Take the goddamn ball and run with it and break through those barriers. We got to work together. And that's just my diatribe that I wanted to say today, gentlemen. I really appreciate you all coming on. Huh, what would you say?
You might want to applaud yourself there.
Yeah, that was
okay,
pretty good, man.
Whatever
Thank
you say.
We're with you on that information, man. That's why I presented this to you, man. You're a very fair-minded brother. And I, for 2 to 3 times, has said that I've extended the olive branch of friendship to Mike V. And my brother.
I don't think that there's a problem between you and Mike B personally. I just think, and I understand this. I think that we're all passionate about what we believe, but we also are passionate when we have the background. So the brother Mike V, he has background in tech. He has been talking. He's right. He has been talking about him and the Brain Trust. They've been talking about this for a number of years. So I understand his position too, because he's been studying the numbers. He's been looking at what's going on. So we can't deny those aspects of what Mike V is bringing to the table. Although we don't want to hate on one another, we can't be in denial of where we fall short in the equation. Correct. And until we recognize where we fall short, we can never gain, we can never improve on where we fall short. We can never improve of it if we are in denial
I
of
agree
these
with you.
things.
I agree. And I was not being in denial. I said that we do need to have the political wherewithal to develop the
Yes.
K through 12, the higher education, secondary. Those were all within the standpoints. In articulating those things, we can do that in a respectful manner
Right.
without denigrating certain groups by saying, and that was my interpretation from all the times that I was on the Black Claims Trust. That
Hmm.
was a constant theme that denigrated a certain group. However, as I said, I will not. I'll be willing to work with our brothers who are willing to work with us, and that's why I presented this to you. And I'm thankful that you came back
Right.
on, and we can move forward on that. Let's get
Right.
back to the subject as you were saying. Yeah.
I don't think we should demigrate, but I do know we do have to recognize where we do fall short. But let me do this because I have a few people that super chatted. We got brother Real Aaron Collins who super chatted me earlier. So let me hit the button for that.
Thank you for the
Thank
super
you.
chat.
Thank you for that super chat, brother. We got this brother right here, my brother Keith. This is my Johnson brother from the Tim Black Show. He says, thank you, Information Man, for laying all the cards on the table for the conversation. My Johnson brother, right to you, brother. Thank you. And thank you for the super chat.
Thank you for the super chat.
And then we have Back to the Basics, who's been a big supporter of the channel over the last few years. I really appreciate her. She said she gave me a $9.99 super chat. She says, showing support, Information Man show. Thank you. And let me give
Thank
you
for the super
a clap.
chat.
And this is what I want to do because at some point we're gonna come to a conclusion with this broadcast tonight. As it relates to the topic, I want everybody on the panel go around in a circle to give us your best thoughts about the subject matter at hand that we're talking about. What people should be on the lookout for. What are the trends? What areas of whether it be grants, education. We did talk about the federal government is putting incentives in right now. I think Joe Biden, because you sent that to me, Ray. Joe Biden's administration is, I guess, in the stimulus, the infrastructure bill.
Yes.
That and one of the videos that I watched, Ray, had it in there, Ray. So you were right. In his infrastructure bill, this particular profession, semiconductor microchipping manufacturing, is part of that infrastructure bill of building America back, or whatever slogan they're using. It's in there, definitely. So let me stop right there and staying on the subject matter as best we can. Everybody give your great thoughts or whatever thoughts you want to bring to the table as we get ready to come to a conclusion today.
I'll go ahead. Yeah, definitely think, agree with everything that's been said in terms of getting Black people into the STEM space. We're woefully underrepresented, and that we need a lot more representation in these areas. However, the question is, how do you go about doing this? And the pipeline, K through 12 into post-secondary education, is going to play a significant role. Now, the other aspect is, do we actually channel people into working for other companies? I'm of the position of we need to own the technology, and that means bringing the industries into Black communities and actually getting funding for that, those sort of initiatives. It's not uncommon that I live in Massachusetts, so we're the life science startup capital in the world. We have more life science startups than anywhere on the planet. We have top 5 hospitals in the country. We also have the 3rd most startups in the country behind New York and California, and also in between Florida as well, because Florida has become a tech hub as well. We are also pushing for blockchain cryptocurrency legislation. So there's a lot of things that we're doing on the ground to engage our elected officials on getting these sort of programs off the ground so that Black people can actually be involved in tech. So I think when it comes to actually having a conversation about tech, I'm not one for actually getting people to work for other companies, but actually how do we own the technology first? The intellectual property is going to be really important going forward if we're going to compete on a global market.
So you're talking about not just working for somebody and being an employee, but actually owning your own to be able to compete on that global market, ownership and investment in the technology,
Having a stake
a
in the
stake in it,
industry, a
a
stake in the
stake in the
industry,
industry.
the
Would that allow
manufacturing.
you to? So, are you saying that in having that stake in the industry, by putting yourself in a position that you can actually be the black man hiring versus the black man looking for the employment?
Not the black man hiring, the community owning
The community. Okay.
the
That's the key
community.
word here. Thank you.
So we're talking about,
Community owning the business.
yeah, we're talking about co-ops,
Co-ops. Okay.
technology co-ops where there's equal share of stake inside in the process as well as the organization itself. And so you don't
Okay.
have a boss. Everybody has equal rights and equal sort of perspective on from from a work organization structure. And so
Okay.
when we're talking about unionization of labor.
Okay. Can you do me this favor? Lead us with the good people here. Can you give us a example? It doesn't matter if it's white or another race of people, but can you give us an example where someone is already doing that?
So you do have in America, you do have few co-ops. I believe
Okay.
there's a co-op in a utility co-op in Texas for the utility grid. I forget the name of it right now, but there is a co-op down there, and that's been going on for probably the last couple of generations.
Okay.
You do have public works sort of co-ops as well in a couple of places around the country, but it's not as far and few in between. A tech co-op is something relatively new, and so we're talking about transitioning from this sort of boss employee sort of structure and
Okay.
actually bringing black people together on an equal playing field where they have equal stake in the industrial process as well as the technology and the intellectual property and having
Okay.
ownership of it within the community and bringing dollars into the community itself.
Okay. Very well said, my brother. Let me give you a clap there. Very well. I love it. Most definitely. Mike V, you welcome here anytime, brother. Thank you. Because I know for a fact that you and the Brain Trust, you guys talk about this. You've been talking about this for a long time.
Mhm.
And you've been looking at the numbers, you've been doing the research on this. So I know you come with a plethora of information and knowledge on this, and you know what you be talking about. So I appreciate you coming on. Let's go over to any other brother who wants to render their great thoughts for today.
I'll go next.
Okay, go right ahead, brother.
I just say awareness because when I went into the semiconductor industry, I never heard of it myself. And then when I tried to explain what I was doing to my family members back in Florida,
Mm-hmm.
they're like, "What is that?" So I would say just giving awareness to the community. It doesn't have to be in semiconductor, just be in STEM itself. And that's what I did with my children. And that's why my daughter is in cybersecurity right now, working in cybersecurity. And I've also, helped encourage, junior high and high school children in my church about going into the STEM field,
Mm-hmm.
And uh, three out of the four went into engineering in school.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say just bring awareness to the community and let them know that there's other options to make their way in this world with this tech.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, Earl Owens, if that is your conclusion for your position, let me just say I thank you. If there's something else you wanted to add, you can definitely go ahead and do that. But I want to thank you for coming upstairs. It was great having you up here. I'm used to seeing you in the chat room. You've been supporting the show for a long time. You've been a dedicated brother, and I appreciate that. So I'm glad that you gave me that surprise and said you actually had experience in the profession, and you added to the richness of the stream today. So I appreciate that, brother. A clap to you.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it. Peace.
No problem. I thank you for being up here. Thank you,
Yeah,
Earl Owens.
information,
You're the best, brother. Yeah, I always look forward to seeing you coming through when I go live. So I really appreciate that.
Hey, Info, one more thing. The reason
Yes,
why I
go right
haven't been
ahead.
on as much is with my daughter being in my ear, and then watching Keep It Techie, and then the
Yeah.
Black Brain Trust.
Mm-hmm.
I'm back in school getting my CCNA certification, which is IT, and
Right.
I'm doing that through the Veterans Administration. So the Veterans Administration is paying for me to get certified
Mm-hmm.
in IT right now. So
Okay. Well,
I'll
look,
pop
brother.
in when I can when I'm not
You
studying.
pop
But
in when you can. You can look at
yes,
the
sir.
replay. Look, man, what you're trying to do for yourself, your family, that's more important. At the end of the day, you have to do what you have to do. We're all living in a world where it's sort of like a dog eat dog, you know, we're all trying to make it. So you going to school for education, that's what it's all about, brother. If you're able to catch my show, if you're able to watch replay, if you're not able to, I understand, brother. We're all living a life, you know. We're living life off of these social media platforms, and things come up, brother. So most importantly, you need to continue with what you're doing. That's more important than anything else. Because you're taking care of your family, and I give you a clap. That's what a man does. That's what a man should be about. So Earl Owens, once again, brother, thank you. I appreciate you coming upstairs and joining the show today. Thank you. Um,
Hmm.
Let me go ahead and do this. We got Alex McGrill who gave me a super chat saying, "Thank you, Information Man, for another great show, and a big thanks to everyone on the panel." Yes, look, it is everybody on the panel. Ray, Identity Withheld. These are the folks that have made this show go today, okay? Because they've added a richness to the program. So with that said, what I want to do, I'm going to hold Ray for last, but I want to go to Identity Withheld. And what I want Identity Withheld to do is I want him to let people know where they can find him, because he does have a channel. He is a content creator. I want you to let them know where they can find you on the social media, the whole 9 yard. Identity Withheld. This is a brother, very intelligent brother. He thinks outside of the box, very critical thinker. So with that said, brother, Identity Withheld, go right ahead, brother. You have the floor.
I appreciate the kind words, bro. Yeah, you can find me on Identity Withheld channel. Search for the look for the WP on the mouthpiece. I am less than a year old on YouTube. I sort of avoided the social media platforms, focused a lot on just creating in my real world of design.
Mm-hmm.
I am, as I said before, I am part of that tech world, and I opened up with let me be your example. Again, I'm speaking to those who don't even know that they could be part of it, or don't even believe that they could be part of it. You know, we were at a level as a people that we thought that getting a high school diploma was going to be the answer. And then the world evolved. And then it was get a college degree. And then the world evolved. Now it's you better have at least a master's if you even want to scratch the surface on even being, solidify that job. And now we're evolved to the point where skill sets are
Mm-hmm.
becoming somewhat more important, not all the way, but somewhat more important than that piece of paper with the degree with your name on it. So
Right.
that means if you get a specific skill set, a niche, something that's in such high demand, they will disregard they will lower the requirement of having a master's and a PhD and all these different things. Now, if you want to go high up in the tech world, you're going to have to carry those credentials. That just means you're more serious. You've been practicing it a lot longer. But there
Mm-hmm.
are times, spaces, opportunities where, yes, you don't necessarily have to have that degree, um, but it's going to limit you as far as opportunities.
Okay.
It's just the nature of the beast. I mean,
Yes.
if you could come out of high school and make $200,000, then nobody would even go to college, right?
Right.
It's almost
Right.
that incentive that say, all right, I got this piece of paper that kind of shows that I've been in this, I've been doing this, this is what I do. And I as a personal give back.
Mm-hmm.
My retirement plan, I'm going back to college and I'm teaching them little black and brown kids that don't be scared of math because it's only just numbers. You put a dollar
Mm-hmm.
sign in front of it, you know when somebody's cheating you, you know how to do fractions and decimals in your head, and you don't even know it. It's just because you relate it to something that they really identify with, that's when
Yes.
it kicks. And I want to
Mm-hmm.
give that back because when that was the eye opener for me.
Mm-hmm.
And anytime I'm in a professional world, I'm not knocking anybody who don't want to be the CEO, because I'm not knocking anybody who just wants to, actually work for a tech company, because
Right.
majority of us are going to have to. How many
Right.
CEOs are going to actually come out of this? We're all not going to be CEOs. We need them. Yes, we
Mm-hmm.
need them. But we also need people on the ground. We also need people coming up in the ranks, because somebody has to pull that younger generation up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for me, when I see black or brown in my world, I know it's rare. And when I see them actually coming in as an intern and things like that, like, wow, you're willing to do this to without pay sometimes,
Right.
just that passion, I will cultivate that talent as best I can, because I was that little black kid who would have loved to have somebody do that for me. I had to figure it out the hard way. But once I did, it would be a crime for me to not share this. So that's my giving back. The day I change the world is the day I'm going to reveal myself. I'm working on that right now. So, yeah, I'll identify myself then. Be years down the line, but I'm working on that. But that's all I got. I appreciate you, information man, for letting me up.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I do have a channel. I am talking more about the taboo topics that we don't like necessarily feel comfortable
Right.
talking about in our
Mm-hmm.
black community. And I'm not scared of those talks, because there's a lot I need to learn from it too. So
Right.
come check me out next time I go live, all that stuff. Information man, you've been there. I actually changed my intro. Your kind words had to be on my platform somehow. I really was
Oh, I
moved by the
appreciate
last
that,
time I
brother. I
was
have to
on,
check
man.
that out.
Yes,
Well,
yes.
identity. Let me say something though, brother. Um, as you can see today, when you talk about these types of subject matters, which really are the things that really matter, unfortunately, some of our people won't come out and watch these type of videos in large numbers.
Correct.
But if I talk about the more polarizing topics, such as Art Kelly or Brother Polite, or even last night, when I went on my rant last night about, the whole reparations and folks across the border getting them some money and all that, they're going to get some money because the lawyers are going to are suing the government for the
Right.
separation of the kids. Those types of topics are more sexier to people. So those are topics that will bring more people out to watch. But these topics are more educational. These topics are more about what you need to be doing now. And
Yes.
sometimes these type of topics that our people really need to be paying attention to and giving support to don't always get the same level of support. I just noticed that since I've been on YouTube for a minute now.
Yeah.
Uh, and it's unfortunate, but it's the reality that when these kind of subject matters are just not sexy. I mean, when you say, "Hey, what are they talking about on Info Show today? Semiconductor microchip technology fields." Oh, that man, please give me a break, please. That's laughable. Please, that's not sexy. Nah, man, that's boring. That's like reading textbook. No, man, I don't want to watch it today. No, I'll catch it on the replay and I'll watch maybe 2-3 minutes of it.
Right.
This is what happens on YouTube, man, to a certain degree, depending on the
Well,
type of channel you have already.
I would definitely say that it's hard to reach the masses. You're right. You use the exact word I would have used. It's not as sexy. It's not that. It's not as flashy. I think Max V said it best. Everybody loves a train wreck. Like that when the effery ramps up, people start watching. Views start spiking, and it's unfortunate, very
Right.
unfortunate. And so again, I'm new to this space. Initially, I didn't care about subs, this and that. I was happy
Hmm.
people were willing to talk to me and have deep conversations. That was
Right.
my first level. And then when I realized people were listening, I
Hmm.
definitely wanted to be careful with how I say things, because I don't want
Hmm.
to. I'm not a character on YouTube. People, I know people come on here and they're characters. I'm not that. When you hear
Hmm.
when I speak, I'm speaking what it is, who I am. I'm just not using my real name. That's the only difference. But I will treat you with respect as if I was at work with a
Hmm.
coworker. Just
Hmm.
because I'm in a black sector or black people are on this and who cares about YouTube. That's
Hmm.
the narrative that I want to change. Why do
Right.
we have to dump on this because people don't value it? Well, then why would you expect anyone else to value it if you don't? So
Right. But you
that's where
just
I stand.
You just keep doing what you're doing because there are people out there that are going to find value in
Yes.
what you're doing. Just like there's people that will find value in this video today, and
Yeah.
I'm happy if people do. But let me do this right now because I'm glad you came on board. This is the brother who's been following me for a while. I know him from O'Shea, and his name is O'Shea as well. He made a good point here. He said, make part of having a cell phone you give your child first the most do research and give you have basically he's saying have your kids give you a book report on the components in that cell phone. How does that cell phone work and operate? I think that's where the brother is going with that statement. And I think
Yeah.
that's interesting. That's how you introduce technology to your kids. Have them do research with your kids, do it hands-on with them so it becomes a family experience. So I think that's a pretty good statement that the brother made there. I
That's
was
a
trying to
really
decode a
good
little bit.
statement.
Yeah.
That's a really good statement. And again, I speak only from my own experience. No one sat me down and showed me. I'm from the VCR days. So you remember the
Hmm.
days when the tapes would get stuck and would
Yeah.
unravel the tape and you got to take it out, wind it by hand and all that stuff.
Hmm.
I was curious enough to open up a VCR, find out why it's doing what it's doing. Literally, it
Hmm.
was just dirty belt. That's all it was. It was a mechanical problem, right?
Hmm.
I figured that out because I was curious. No one sat me down and said, "Hey, open that up." I just happened to be curious. I opened it up. There was a circuit board in there. I didn't know what
Hmm.
the hell was on that circuit board. There's a green board with all these parts, components. I didn't know what solder was. I didn't know what any of that stuff was. And then, fast forward to like this was like middle school, high school. When I got to
Hmm.
high school, I found myself repairing VCRs for teachers and I
Right.
had no idea that they were going to pay me for it. So it was like
Right.
oh wow, look at that. If I
Right.
knew I'm just taking a piece of alcohol, some alcohol and a Q-tip, and I'm making $25 a pop for a VCR fix that takes 20 minutes, maybe. Like that's
Hmm.
huge in my world back in high school. But it
Right.
evolved into more. I got into electricity, then electronics, then but that spark was curiosity. Some of us don't have that at that young age. Sometimes we gotta light it for others.
Hmm. Right.
Everybody's not gonna wake up and want to open up an iPhone.
Right.
That's not common. But if we expose that to a child and say, "Hey, look, the circuit that's in this cell phone, it's in every satellite that they talk about in NASA or any kind of whatever sensors that they build. That
Right.
technology is here, and all
We
we have
just
to do is spark that curiosity, and that's all we can do,
right.
really."
We just gotta introduce these things to our kids as best we can.
Yeah,
If you as a parent don't have a grasp on how to introduce this, identify programs in your community or people who have a skill set. I know when I grew up, oh, that's what I wanted to say because I'm going to be going there on my blog channel next year. When I lived in San Francisco, we had this place in San Francisco called the Exploratorium, which was right
mm,
next to the Palace of the Fine Arts. If you don't know what the Palace of the Fine Arts is, that Greek looking structure right next to the Golden Gate Bridge, which actually was a bigger structure than what you're seeing because part of it was torn down on the Marina Green of San Francisco. So right near the Golden Gate Bridge, there's the Palace of Fine Arts, and there was the Exploratorium Science Museum. And they moved that museum to the downtown part of. But I used to go there when I was in school, junior high school, elementary school, and that actually sparked my desire to understand and learn about science. So there are programs. Look them up in your community and see if they got science museums. See if there's science play gyms. You'd be surprised what they got nowadays for kids to get them into science. Look them up in your individual communities, and if you have a son, a daughter, bring them there. Let them see these
yeah,
scientific mechanisms at work. That's what the exploratorium was. If you could actually go there and experience scientific, scientific experiments for your imagination on display. But Identity with Hell, thank you for coming on, brother. I want to give
sure.
you a clap
Appreciate the time.
again. Uh, I want to say peace to Keep It Techie. He has a great channel. Check out his channel, Keep It Techie. He's in the chat room right now. I want to thank everybody out there. I want to go over to Ray Alexander, who was our main guest today, and I want him to give his words, his closing words, as we come to conclusion on the program today. It got a
I'm going to
little
hop
bit
off and listen to the rest. Ray, thanks for joining.
okay.
I'm going to listen in to the end.
All right,
Information
man.
man. I'll catch up with you
All
later.
right. All right,
All right,
brother.
peace,
Take
everybody.
care. All right. Take care, brother. Once again, clap to you. So, Ray, the goal at the end of the day, Ray, was to give people an understanding of an underserved profession, particularly a profession that's being underserved by our population. Meaning, it's a profession right now that is literally screaming for people to come on board. And so I think that was why this was important. This was very important. And then the fact that your goal, your aim here was to say this is a profession that Black men in particular, but the Black community should be looking at trying to get into, because we are not represented in any high numbers whatsoever. So the goal of today's program was to promote this particular profession as a opportunity for our people to get involved in, if not as a grown person, but to at least maybe prepare your kids in the science. And whether people like this technology, someone in the chat room said, this technology is going to be doomed. It's going to doom us. I get all of that. We can get into all the conspiracy theories all we want, but whether we like it or not, this is the future of where the world is going. The world is becoming more global. Technology is coming, whether you like it or not. And guess what? Some of our kids are already more prepared to deal with it than us grown folks already. Some of our kids, see, this is the thing that we've lost, Ray. Some of us, when we become grown adults, we have lost the imagination that we had as a child. Remember when you were a kid, Ray? Everybody listening? You were playful. You didn't mind. If you didn't have toys, you could go outside and do imaginary games and still have fun. I think as people, we have grown into adulthood in our 20s and our 30s and our 40s and our 50s and beyond. And we have lost the energy and the imagination that a child has. Children don't hold themselves back. They go with the flow. It's called the flow experience. We need to get some of that back. Ray, go ahead now. Close us out.
I agree with you on that. For those of us of the faith community, we have especially for us who've been in this country for several generations, we have a saying that we're more than overcomers. I think that if you look at our history, being in chattel slavery for 252 years, having faith that we would overcome in that, being emancipated, participating in society through Reconstruction, having customs and laws against us for 100 years after we were emancipated to limit our development to where 50 years ago we opened up doors that everyone benefits from today. So I do say that this is an excellent thing that we need to do. And the reason the way that I did want to emphasize the men, we need to be the leadership. These are excellent opportunities, and we can overcome that. We can overcome deficits in illiteracy. We can overcome the deficits in economics. We can assert our political power, but it's going to take time over over years, over decades. And that's what happened previously. And I have faith that we will do those things. And I really appreciate you, brother, for allowing us to come and discuss this issue. Even as laymen, I'm glad that the people who were in the industry came in on it. But as we said earlier, this is the wave. This is a move. They're going to do this anyway. This is the wave. All of the items that we utilize for our national defense, all of the conveniences that we have and everything we use will be done through microchips. And we need to be a major part of this industry in every level, not just the manufacturing, the design, the teaching, the training, the sales, the management, financing, everything. And I do believe that we could do a cooperative technology. There's a group in Jackson called Cooperation Jackson in Mississippi, and they do that with small farms and stores right now. And so that could transition once we get the types of things that we do. And as I said, I'm open to all people who are allies and friends who want to build a good future with us, and I'm open to that. And I just appreciate you, brother, for opening this door and having this platform and forum so that we can discuss this important topic.
Oh, I appreciate you too. Let me say peace to Keep It Techie again. He gave me the $20 super chat.
Thank you for the
And I
super
appreciate
chat.
that. And Lady T, I think she says she has to go. I want to say I didn't get a chance to say what's up to her. I want to say thank you to Lady T for coming on over. Everybody do me the biggest favor, because this is what we should be doing for all of each other. Share the video in all your social media. Share the video in your community tab if you are a content creator. Let me say what's up to the brother Abdul that's in the house saying Aaron Collins. Okay, I did know that. Salute. Peace to you. O'Shea came in. I want to say, oh, brother O'Shea, thank you for coming over. It's been a minute since I've seen you, brother, but you came over and you've been making some really good statements in the chat room. He says, this makes me want to hurry and do another stream on buying a computer piece by piece. Very interesting. Very interesting. Black Voltron's been doing a good job in the chat room. Earl Owens came on board. Real Aaron Collins. Sister Murray has been doing her job as a mod. Everybody in there is a mod. You know, part of being a mod is definitely keeping the chat room going and flowing, reminding people to subscribe and like. Make sure you're moderating the chat room from people who want to troll. You know, I have no tolerance for trolls over here, and nobody should either anyway. But I really respect everybody that's came over. Back to the basics. Craig R. Keith, brother Keith, who's been supporting me pretty heavy. Everybody has been supporting. And what's going on, brother? Brother gave me a super chat. Thank you for that super chat, Adula.
Thank you for the super chat.
He says, best conscious channel in black. Thank you, brother.
Thank you for the super chat.
Hey, thank you, but I got to give you a clap on that. Thank you. Hey, I'm doing the best I can do, brothers. I'm doing the best I can do. You know, I'm doing the best I can do over here. There'll be some topics where I'll have a crowd of people in here when I'm doing more polarizing topics, but this topic was more educational. And that's why I'm putting this video through other types of platforms that gear to a more educational topic today. So, Ray, this video is definitely going to get a lot more views after the fact, because of the nature of it. So it allows me to really push it through and what have you. Ray, we're going to do this again. There's other topics that we're going to be talking about, me and you, in the near future. Just do what you've been doing, brother. Send me emails if there's any topic that's on your mind that you think we should touch on. There may be some topics that you sent me way back when that maybe we should try to reboot and get into. We'll see how things go. But thank you once again, Ray. Let me give you a clap for coming over and being a part of the program today.
Appreciate that,
much respect to you. We got
that.
Natural in the chat room. I got a lot of respect for her. And we got this sister right here, the Asper channel. I love this sister. She's a very attractive sister here. Follow her on Instagram. She says, I love more educational topics, things, information. But yeah, you never know what you're going to get from me over here. I could be talking about a more polarizing topic, a more educational topic. It could be any kind of topic that I'm talking about, because I call myself the information man for that reason. You might get an upload or two here. Oh, Maz, do me the favor. And it's a little small channel that I have, and I go over there and I do a little podcast and what have you. But check out the Information Man Speaks podcast. It's my second channel. All you got to do is scroll down on this channel page and click the colorful logo, not the black logo, but the colorful logo. Go over there, subscribe, hit the bell notifications. What I do over there is I sometimes go live for about an hour, or I just give you upload pre-produced material, and I touch on current event topics. It could be about entertainers, it could be about sports, it could be about anything that's on my mind. I got about 2 videos on there specifically talking about the situation with our man Dave Chappelle that you might enjoy checking out for yourself. So Mods, if you could drop that link in the chat room as well, and thank you. With that said, Ray, I want to say thank you again, brother, for coming over.
You're welcome, man. I enjoyed it, and have a great day. You did a great job tonight in handling and managing the show, and I appreciate that. Take care.
One thing I want to say to you, Ray, before you go, is the conversation with you and Mike V had the potential to go way, way down the left. It could have really gotten explosive up here. But as men, although you had difference of opinions, and you both, what I noticed, that you both stood 10 toes down on your positions, it did not go in areas that it could have potentially gone where I've seen on YouTube where things go real bad, real bad, and I mean explosively bad. Like
Well,
that
I'm
sound
glad.
right there, real explosively bad. So I'm glad that as men, we were still able to somehow keep some of our composure, even though we had differences, and did not make it get a little bit too far down the drain as it could have creeped. So I have to say kudos for you and Mike V for at some point in time bringing back some of the reins from it becoming a conversation that could have went really bad. So I want to say thank you for that, brother.
You're
For
welcome,
keeping
brother.
it together that way. I got to clap you on that one and everybody there. Earl Owens has just super chatted me $5 and information man. Thanks for all you do. Thank you.
Thank you for the super
And
chat.
then this is a sister right here I want to tell everybody about. Check out this sister's channel as well. Miss Full Roller. She is great. She does music over there, all different types of things. And check out the Diaspora channel too. This sister has a channel. Everybody in the chat room, or some of them are content creators. I would say to everybody, every now and then, take a piece of paper, write people's names down on paper, and then go back at your own convenience and see if they got channels and give them some support. I clearly thank you all for supporting my channel. I want to say again, share this in your social media, in your own community tabs as well. I want to thank Ray again. He's just dropped off, but I want to thank him for coming over again and being a part of this whole situation. So, folks, that's it. You know how I get down on this channel. This is a weekend channel. You know I go live on the weekends over here. And once again, you can catch me on the Information Man Speaks podcast. I drop uploads over there, and sometimes I'll put premiere videos over there as well. So check that channel out. Give that channel a little bit of love. Thank you all. And I'm reminding everybody again, you're going to probably see me in a different light next year sometime when I launch the vlog channel. I'll be traveling, going different places around California in my local areas, and I will be vlogging and giving you a different side of me and a different perspective of California where I live at. And it won't be a channel that will be into politics and polarizing topics. It'll be a channel that no matter what your race is, and it'll be a channel that can pick up a lot of views globally because of the way I'm going to do it. It's a channel that it should be fun for everybody. You're going to see me travel, go to beaches, go to community centers, go to exhibits, art exhibits. I might be going to festivals of all types of activities, and I'll be right there with the camera, some stuff live and some stuff uploaded. I'm already buying equipment for this channel, and I'm taking my time with coming up with a concept for it, studying people who have these sort of channels, and preparing for the proper marketing of the channel, because it's a channel, as I said, that has the potential to be a globally good channel if I do it right and take my time and build it step by step. It could be it could potentially be a huge channel, because I'm going to be tapping into all populations globally with these kind of channels. Tap into a global audience, not just a local audience. So I just want to give you guys a hit up on that. And when I do launch this channel, I would like the crowd from here to come over and subscribe to that channel to help get the channel going. My goal is for this channel to probably surpass this channel. Now, what I mean by that is that I'm still going to do political stuff on this channel, social, economic, these type of topics. But what I'm saying is the channel has the potential to grow even past what I'm doing over here, because it's not going to be polarizing, right? So that's something that I'm already working on. Don't have the channel yet, but I'm working on the concepts and trying to look at other people who have this kind of channel and seeing what I could do that's different, that stands out compared to what they are doing with this type of niche. So I want you guys to take that journey with me when I launch that channel sometime next year. It could be late next year. I suspect it's going to be late next year, because I'm taking my time with this so that I can do it right. So I really appreciate everybody out there. I'm going to give you a clap again. We got LV Teach Me is in the house. Thank you for being here. O'Shea for being Yalfi, thank you for coming over. If I'm saying that name correct. Yalfi, thank you for coming over. Black Votron, Miss Fuller Roller. Thank you. Keith, brother Keith, Craig R. Keep It Techie came over. Make sure y'all check out his channel. He gave me that super chat, and I thank him for that. Sister Murray, doing a hell of a job as a mod in the chat room. Everybody's doing a hell of a job. Let me see who else I can point out here that's in there. And anybody that I missed that sent me a super chat, or anybody who was greeting me and I did not acknowledge you at that time, no shade against you, because when you got people up here talking, I want to let them talk and not interrupt. So I want to say thank you for coming over and supporting the channel nevertheless. And with that said, let me get on out of here. Lady T is in the house. Thank you for being here again. And we got to get out of here. And I appreciate everybody. You guys are the best of the best of the best of the best. I got to give you a clap on that. And here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Take care. Peace. I appreciate everybody out there. This is the Information Man Speaks podcast. Take care, everybody.
Please make sure to subscribe to his channel.
The Information Man Show.
You are listening to Information Man. Please make sure to subscribe to his channel.
Tell the truth.
The Information Man Show.
You are listening to Information Man. Please make sure to subscribe to his channel.
The Information Man Show.
Tell the truth. Tell the truth.
If you want truth,
Tell the truth.
this is the place to come for truth. If you want truth, the Information Man. If you don't want truth, this is not the goddamn place for you to be. Do you want truth? Truth!
Tell the truth.
Here comes the bell of truth. Truth! Yes, yes, yes.
Tell the truth.
Yes.
Tell the truth.
If you want truth, we're going to examine all the bullshit in this world. Turn it upside down, examine it. If you want truth, then this is the place for you. If you want lies, then this ain't the goddamn place for you. Subscribe and hit the bell notification, but beware. If you can't take control of yourself when you hear truth, if you can't handle truth, then this ain't the goddamn place for you. But if you can handle truth, then subscribe and hit the bell of notification. Subscribe. But beware. If you can't handle truth, then get the hell out of here if you can't handle truth. Peace to everybody out there. It's all about truth, ladies and gentlemen. Can you handle it? Can you handle that truth? Can you really handle it? Can you? Good night, everybody. I'll see y'all around the YouTube streets. Make sure y'all share the video on your social media, the content, your tab, your community tabs, and peace to everybody in the chat room. I see everybody in there. We got Natro. We got Miss Full and Rolling. We got Keith in there still. We got LV Teach Me, Keith. Everybody still hanging a little bit in there. And we got my man, Real Aaron Collins. And we got Complex Design is in the house. Thank you for being here. And the question is, Complex, can you handle truth, brother? Because if you can't, my program ain't for you. But I know you can, Complex. I know you can. That's why you came on over. That's why you came on over. Take care, everybody. Have a great night. Peace.
You are listening to Information Man. Please make sure to subscribe to his channel.